as they descend, slowed down by the parachutes to a slow, easy 20 miles per hour upon splashing down off the California coast. The crew is wearing their re-entry suits and they are strapped in their seats for safety. Again, splashdown set for 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. At Kennedy Space Center, Greg Pallone, Spectrum News.
A man convicted of killing his wife, her parents, and her brother has been sentenced to death. Shelby Neely pleaded guilty to the murders of Richard, Laura, and Nicholas Ivankic. Their bodies were found in their Tarpon Springs home in 2019. Neely told investigators he killed them after they became suspicious of him. That's because in 2018, Neely says he killed his wife, Jamie Ivankic, and buried her behind their home in Pasco County. He then spent 11 months pretending she was alive. In conversations with family, Neely was already sentenced to 30 years in prison for his wife's death, but for the murder of her family, a judge sentenced him to death for each of the 3 murders. Project Focus, a local nonprofit that provides support services and programs to young adults with disabilities, is now reaching out to younger students with its Focus Day School. The school serves students in 3rd through 6th grade. Spectrum Bay News 9's Fallon Silcox visited the school and has more on how it's helping students who sometimes fall through the cracks in traditional schools.
Welcome to Miss Megan's class at the new Focus Day School in Temple Terrace. Today's lesson includes actual seed planting.
Basil seeds.
But in this classroom, metaphorically speaking, even more seeds are being planted each day. Seeds of curiosity, confidence, and growth. Focus Day School serves students with special needs like autism, learning disabilities, ADHD, speech or language delays, and intellectual disabilities.
The population that we're serving here, they're kids who they're struggling in general education classrooms and they don't qualify for, the self-contained ESC classrooms. And so they're just floundering. And because of those budget cuts and those different things that are happening, our kids end up just getting lost.
Elizabeth Radka is the head of schools. She says here, students find their place. The goal isn't to grow. Focus Day School will stay small to meet students' individual needs. It's been open since August, and Radka says it's a success. One student even said it's better than chicken nuggets, which meant a lot to her.
She said my student always was either coming home crying from school on a daily basis, or she was crying and not wanting to go to school every day, and now she looks forward to coming every day.
Students not only learn the basics, math, reading, and science, they also incorporate mental health and drama therapy. For example, creating stories through puppets.
My name is Cheesy.
It actually helps students in some of the areas they struggle with most in traditional school, communicating and socializing.
Like with any of us, what we project out is usually what's going on inside, so it gives them a chance sometimes to work through some issues that they might be having.
At Focus Day School, she says it's not just about students finding their voice, it's about them finally being heard. In Temple Terrace, I'm Fallon Silcox, Spectrum News.
Well, the deadline to file your taxes is right around the corner, so the IRS is offering some extra help for those who haven't filed yet. The Tampa office is extending its hours on Saturday. The process, of course, can sometimes be complicated, but if it's any incentive, taxpayers who've already filed are seeing financial benefits this year. They're noticing either bigger tax refunds or paying less than they normally would.
You've got the deductibility of car interest for the first time in many, many years. That's been a big one for certain people that bought cars in 2025. Then we're seeing, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime has been a big one.
But the key is filing on time by April the 15th. Otherwise, some of those savings could be wiped out by penalties. The Tampa IRS office will be open tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
The temperatures this morning were really comfortable. I don't know if you're one of those early risers that's able to get out really early, right around the sunrise time. It was very comfortable, 50s to low 60s. Get used to it. It's actually going to be really comfortable moving forward most of this next week for morning lows. But here's the irony. The afternoon highs will continue to warm up. So the afternoon highs were around the low to mid 80s today. They'll be right around the low to mid 80s tomorrow. But then on Sunday, they'll be mid 80s. Then most of next week, mid to upper 80s. So the afternoon highs will slowly climb up. the overnight lows will actually be a little bit cooler. This is because drier air is moving in. Remember, most of this week we had some showers and clouds coming in off the Atlantic. That is not the case anymore. Drier air has gotten wrapped around this high pressure, and dry air is coming down from the mid-Atlantic and northeast and right down into our area. Dry air cools down rapidly at night, warms up rapidly during the day. And so you can see that reflected with the dew point. See how low that dew point is. This is the difference between our summer pattern and our spring pattern. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to over the years about this. They'll say, well, gosh, you know, there's really not that much difference between a high of 88 in April and a high of 90 in the summer. True, temperature-wise, but not true humidity-wise. Massive difference humidity-wise. It's tons muggier in the summer, and that's why it can feel comfortable this time of year, because even though it gets warm, we tend to have very comfortable mornings and evenings. So only a few passing clouds in the afternoon for tomorrow. With a dry atmosphere, you're not going to get a whole lot in the way of cloud cover, and really there's not going to be much in the way of any active weather. Lows 50s and low 60s overnight. For tomorrow, mostly sunny, warm afternoon with highs in the mid-80s, but a pleasant breeze from the east. Again, like I said yesterday, the main storm system is actually out in the western U.S. coming in off the Pacific. Huge rains and snow coming into California. Very beneficial for them. Like us, they've been in drought conditions, so this is really helping to bring them out of the drought and giving their Sierra Nevada mountains massive snows in the spring, which is good because they kind of missed out on some of the heavier snows this winter. For us, unfortunately, we're headed in the opposite direction. It's going to be dry for a while. I'll talk about that in your 7-day in less than 10 minutes.
Destination Space presented by Florida's Space Coast.
It is an exciting day in America. Thank you so much for joining us from across Spectrum Networks. I'm Curtis McLeod. The Artemis II mission is almost wrapped up. The crew are on their final approach to Earth, expecting to splash down in the Pacific Ocean within the next half hour. It's been a historic 10 days to the moon and back, and we have been with you every step of the way. We have crews stationed on both the east and west coast this evening. Our Ryan Thompson is at Mission Watch Party in San Diego, where space fans have gathered there, and our Brian Bowes is at Johnson Space Center, where the mission directors have been controlling the spacecraft now from the ground these past 10 days. Let's head first, though, to Kennedy Space Center, where space expert Greg Pallone and dual certified meteorologist Zach Covey are standing by. Hey, guys.
Hello, the excitement is brewing from Kennedy Space Center, but this is where it all started back on April 1st with the launch of the Artemis II rocket from pad 39B here at the Kennedy Space Center. Hard to believe it's already almost been 10 days. This mission seems to have flied by. They really didn't have any problems. Had a problem with the toilet a couple of times, but other than that, everything has been on par. Everything has gone well. The communication between mission control and the Artemis II crew in their Integrity spacecraft. Zach, we've seen so far just moments ago the crew module and service module separation. That is a big milestone that has to happen. And then the raise burn, that's important too. And so those are a couple of things that just happened here in the last couple of minutes. But everything seems to be progressing toward this 807 splashdown.
And of course, all eyes on the Orion heat shield. That is obviously the big kind of talking point, and honestly the biggest unknown regarding the Artemis mission profile as a whole. We remember back in Artemis 1 just 3 years ago, the heat shield did its job. It protected Orion, but engineers were shocked to find that there were literal chunks that blew out of the heat shield. Engineers went over it and decided they're going to change the angle of attack. One thing to talk about with this heat shield is a lot of people say, well, why not change it? Well, the Orion heat shield for Artemis II was built and integrated into this Orion capsule before Artemis I went up. So we didn't have the time or really the effort to go back in and change that up. So we are going to have a new heat shield for Artemis III leading forward, but this is the original shield with Artemis I. We'll see how the new trajectory handles.
There's 4 big differences in the Artemis II as opposed to Artemis I. It's called the crew.
Yep.
That Artemis I was uncrewed, so it was a test. This still is a test flight to find out how Orion flies. This is the first time a crew has flown to space in the capsule and going around the moon. And when it's all said and done, they're going to be going around a little bit more than 690,000 miles on their almost 10-day journey. So this is absolutely incredible to see as NASA is getting people back to the moon. And eventually we'll have landings on the moon with future Artemis missions. And again, you had mentioned the heat shield. They have to withstand some 3,000 to 5,000 degrees as they're coming in hot, 25,000 miles an hour to be able to slow down for that soft water landing.
And I actually have a couple of graphics that we can really demonstrate what this heat shield is going to go through. So let's see if we can take those graphics full. What you're going to notice on the first one is the Integrity capsule. That's what they named this Orion capsule, Integrity, moving in over the Indian Ocean, entering the Earth's atmosphere at 450,000 feet before it splashes down off the California coastline. Now, what you're looking at here, this is a graph of the Artemis I altitude range of how the capsule came in. We call it a essential skip. So it came down into the atmosphere, skipped up through the atmosphere, and then came back down, crashing to Earth. At one point, reaching a altitude of about 290,000 feet. That is a whole different profile from this year. This year, the flight not skipping as high, and this is kind of the change that the engineers said. They said, let's go ahead and do a steeper trajectory, not go as high into the atmosphere this time, and hopefully that will lead to a change in how the Orion heat shield will actually hold up throughout this trajectory.
One big thing to note, during entry interface, that is when we will have a blackout between the astronauts on board the Orion capsule and also the mission control.
6 minutes. 6 minutes.
6 minutes to be exact. So we actually have a couple of...
Houston, purge is complete. Crew and vehicle are configured for entry.
Houston copies.
And we're in step 37, transferring nav state to BFS.
All right, if you're listening in right now, we are waiting, standing in the ready for the Artemis II crew preparing to splash down back here on Earth. As we stand in the ready, we are getting a look here at as they make their way here. It appears to be a look inside. It looks like a look inside of the capsule here. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. What we're seeing here, this picture that we have up right now. What we want to do, of course, right now is give you send things back out to Kennedy Space Center now. Our crew back with us here. Hey, guys, where do we stand right now with the timing of the capsule making its way to San Diego, the coast there?
Well, entry interface begins at 7:53 p.m. our time. That's Eastern time, so it'd be 6:53 p.m. Central time. Obviously, it's a 3 hours difference when you're talking about the California coast, so they're going to be looking at it there. But that is the next major milestone with the splashdown happening at 8:07 as they're going to be going through the EI as it is. We do have some team coverage here, and we have a crew in San Diego.
Yes, we do. So let's head on out to, what is it, the San Diego Air and Space Center right now and get a look at exactly what is going on there.
That's where our colleague Ryan Thompson is reporting. What's the mood there, Ryan?
Hey, good evening, guys. There is certainly no shortage of excitement here in San Diego. We're listening to that same mission control feed that's a little glitchy that you guys are. There are hundreds of people here, and a lot of them really say that this mission, this return to space, well, when it started on April 1st, they were not so sure about it. Now, after seeing just some of these incredible images and videos, of the other side of the moon that they are fully engaged and ready to be back here for Artemis III when that happens next year. One thing that's super interesting, of course, with San Diego is we're only about 100 miles from that planned splashdown zone off the coast here in the Pacific Ocean. I actually had the chance to speak with members of the Navy about how they were trying to prepare to collect the capsule, the Orion capsule, with the Artemis II mission. They set out to sail over the weekend, and they've been out there staging with helicopters, Navy boats, divers, as well as medic crews, really preparing for this big moment. Of course, you know, so much has to do with the precision. We're talking about a single second, a single degree. All of it matters, but the Navy has, of course, a plan B, plan C, plan D. They are ready for this day. And back here at the San Diego Air and Space Museum, everyone is watching eagerly as we head into some of the riskiest minutes of this mission, hoping that it's all going to be okay.
Ryan, I've got to ask you one quick question. How's the mood there? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of nerves during those 6 minutes of comm blackout, but overall, would you say that the joy is within the room, welcoming these astronauts back just off your coast?
54 seconds being Central Time, and again we'll rest.
Yeah, listen, when we came here at the top of 4 o'clock, that's when the party got underway. There was joy, there was excitement. People really just happy to be here for this historic moment for America as well as Canada joining the mission. But, you know, as things have started to get into these situational, tough moments, these key 6 minutes, we'll have the blackout. You can feel the mood in the room getting a little bit tenser. Some people tensing up, paying extra attention as we head into these critical moments here. I think everyone very eager, very excited to see these astronauts return safely.
Ryan, thank you so much. We appreciate everything out there, and we'll check back in with you later on. Ryan Thompson there from the San Diego Air and Space Museum. Obviously, watch parties happening all across the nation, but the biggest watch party might be at one very well-known space center in Texas.
And it's extremely essential to get this crew home. They've been guiding the crew on this exciting Artemis II moon mission. That's, of course, at Johnson Space Center there in Houston, Texas. And that's where our own Brian Bose is joining us now. Brian, what's the setting there going on there at Mission Control?
Well, I think when you look at the entire thing, you realize that this trip started in Florida, it's going to end in California, but the heartbeat of any mission to space goes right through Houston, right in the middle, here at Johnson Space Center. And just doing some research on this story, I didn't realize that this place started in 1961 under a different name, and they have been at the controls at every manned mission since 1964. We're talking about Gemini, we're talking about Apollo missions, we're talking about the shuttle, we're talking about the International Space Station, and now Artemis. And there's been some good and bad that have come with that. Of course, you think about Neil Armstrong, you think about Buzz Aldrin stepping their foot onto the moon in the Apollo 11 mission, but you also think about 1985 and the Space Shuttle Challenger when 7 people lost their lives, including 4 astronauts and teacher Krista McCullough. So this place really is the heart of space travel in America and across the planet. And you know, there's excitement. There's excitement for it to be back. There's excitement for people to eventually, in 2 years now, step foot on the moon again. And this is where it all starts. This is the brain. This is the heart. This is where everything's controlled from. And it's fun. It's exciting.
And Brian, I've got to ask you, the families of all 4 astronauts were flown out to Johnson Space Center. Obviously a big moment for them as well. Have you seen any of the families around or heard anything about their well-being recently?
Where they've put us, no, not so much. The media is kept away from that. They will be speaking later on this evening. There's an opportunity for them to speak once splashdown happens, once the astronauts are reintegrated, they'll fly them here, they'll rejoin with their families, and it'll be a glorious occasion. Of course, we've heard from these 4 astronauts how excited they are to share the data that they've recovered, the pictures, the stories that they can tell, and just the history that they made. This is a group that went farther than any human ever out into deep space, what they saw with their own eyes, no human eye has ever seen before. You're talking about Christina Cook being the first female on a lunar mission. You're talking about the first person of color, the first Canadian to go into deep space, and then of course the commander. You talk about Commander Wiseman naming a crater after his late wife who passed of cancer. So there's some emotion that's going to happen right here in Houston over the course of the next couple of hours and of course the next couple of days. And then we're going to get some great information out of what they saw, what they heard, what they tracked. And it's just the beginning of more space travel in the future. And it all starts right here in Houston.
Brian, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for setting the scene for us there. And yes, there's so many firsts and so many historic things that happened on this 10-day mission. I will say my wife grew up in Webster, Texas, which is right there at the Johnson Space Center. Going to field trips as a kid, always saying how she enjoyed that so much. But again, he says that that's the heartbeat of these missions, and it has been for all of these decades as the space program continues to thrive for the country, especially being our 250th anniversary. We're now, Zach, we are now in that 6-minute communication blackout. So lots of pins and needles, lots of holding your breath and hoping everything is going on with that entry interface as the Orion capsule is now experiencing the Earth's atmosphere.
And that is essentially happening because as Orion enters the atmosphere at over 25,000 miles per hour, you are building up plasma. And as the plasma builds up, it's essentially blocking off all radio signals. It bounces those radio waves, those electromagnetic waves, both out and away from Orion, as well as the signals within Orion. It doesn't allow those out. It bounces them back in. So you're not able to get that type of data. Now, we do have satellites tracking. We do have the GPS signal track. They did connect with the GPS systems. So Houston is getting some telemetry data, but the raw feeds of what the astronauts are experiencing, communicating with them, that's kind of that 6-minute blackout of waiting on those pins and needles.
It's kind of like the cork on the wine bottle. It's kind of putting it back in there. You're not allowed to get it out at this time. So we'll wait these few minutes before comms are restored for the crew to be able to communicate with Mission Control once again. But again, let's talk a little bit about the ascent after they get out of the atmosphere. What will happen then? They'll be going down, slowing down. There's 11 parachutes that are going to be deployed as they do that, and they only need 2 of the big ones at the very end to be able to land safely. But you know, NASA, their middle name is redundant.
Yes, 250,000 or 25,000, not 250,000, 25,000 miles per hour down to just 20. In fact, the official landing speed that NASA came out with today, 19. So we'll round it, but they are aiming for 19 miles per hour, splashing down on the water. They're hoping that it's upright. However, if for some reason it were to tilt the opposite way, they actually have inflatable airbags, which would then upright it. Then, once they shut down the Integrity Orion capsule, that'll take about 10 to 12 minutes after splashdown. Then, once the Integrity Orion capsule is completely shut down, the Navy will then go in. The Navy is about a mile away from the expected splashdown position. The Navy will go in. They'll deploy a massive inflatable right up against it. They call it the front porch. And that is where 4 Navy doctors, it is their job to treat the sick and wounded on Navy ships, will work alongside NASA's flight surgeon who will be on the ship in extracting and getting those first vital signs from the astronauts and then working on extracting them out onto the front porch. From there, they'll get hoisted up into a helicopter one by one. Those helicopters will take about a 10-minute journey back to the ship. They'll land, and then NASA's flight surgeon then takes over, removing the astronauts one by one, taking them to a med bay, which is right on the deck of the ship. It's not going to be inside. It'll be on the deck where they will continue a round of medical evaluations.
Let's talk a little bit more about what you can expect with this reentry once the parachutes. Again, we have 11 parachutes. Three of them will jettison you mentioned the forward bay cover, that as well, and those drogue chutes as well. The main parachutes, again, only needing 2 of the 3 mains required to land land safely. So they expect the main parachutes to deploy fully open. It takes about 15 seconds, so not terribly long for that to happen. But again, you mentioned the destination, the ship, the USS John P. Murtha. That is a specialized ship for the Navy. It's an amphibious transport dock, and that means it's water. It works in water, and it works out there in the ocean, and it is uniquely equipped to handle this spacecraft recovery with the Orion. And again, once those astronauts get on board, they'll do the med checks and make sure everything is okay. And actually, we were discussing earlier today, it's going to take them about a couple of weeks. We may not hear from them for a while because they have to recover and to get back and their bodies used to Earth's gravity. They have not seen gravity in almost 10 days. They've been floating in their Orion spacecraft on their journey as they continued their mission. So a couple more things coming up. It's again, splashdown expected here in just a few minutes.
And the speed has now slowed from 25,000 to 13,000 and falling quickly. They are now just 37 miles from the surface of the Earth. Just about 10-15 minutes ago, they were over 1,000 miles away. So it shows just how quickly Earth's gravity pulls and tugs any object in space into the atmosphere. Once you get into Earth's sphere of gravity and sphere of influence, we call it the SOE, it just pulls everything down. And the spacecraft now, again, 11,000 miles per hour, 34 miles right now, according to our GPS sensors.
They will be home very soon, and we'll get those communications back and have that exchange between the crew and Mission Control. So on board, we have Reed, we have Victor, we have Christina, and we have Jeremy, and they have had an adventure on this. And we are going back to the moon on future missions, Artemis II and then Artemis III. The goal is to build a lunar base, and why do you do that? You want to have a jump-off point for deep space destinations like Mars. So you want to establish that presence on the moon. That's exactly why they're going. They were able to see things on the far side of the moon that we've never seen. They saw it with their human eyes. Describing that to NASA, they'll give them even more detail once they return and talk with them, talk with the scientists, talk about the craters, talk about everything they're seeing, and seeing we've been seeing all that imagery they've been sending back. Absolutely fascinating. Thousands upon thousands of pictures of a place that we really don't know a lot about, but we'll know soon.
Yeah, and you bring up Artemis III and moving forward from there. Artemis III is a really interesting mission because that's next year. We're talking the middle part of next year. Now the mission profile has changed a bit, and we should honestly learn Artemis III's crew, I would assume, any day from now. I do want to pause real quick. If we could take the feed, I believe that we have received signal from the Integrity crew.
Guys, looks good.
No action for the enabled.
So they have now made it through the 6 minutes of terror, people like to call it, because of the comms blackout.
Voice communication.
What is happening right now is the Orion spacecraft is still moving very, very fast, but now much slower than some of those more critical points in the atmosphere. So we are still not splashed down. That's going to be the safe point of the trajectory today. That's where we want to be, on the Earth's surface there in the water. But we have made it through, in my opinion, the most critical part of the atmosphere.
Just hearing they just crossed 100,000 feet. They are almost home. A couple more things in the timeline. Once splashdown does occur at 8:07 p.m., the Integrity, the spacecraft, will power down about 15 minutes after that. The targeted extraction of the 4-member crew is for 9:06 p.m. Eastern time, and they'll arrive on the recovery ship. You mentioned that helicopter ride, Zach. It's not, doesn't take any time at all. It's going to be taking about 30 minutes or so once they arrive at the recovery ship. And the order that we were hearing earlier, considering who's going to be taken out of the capsule first it will be Christina.
Christina, I believe.
Christina, then
and then Reed. Not
Jeremy.
Reed. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Jeremy then, and then Victor, and then
Reed at the very end.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Reed and Jeremy are riding on the helicopter together.
Correct.
Christina and Victor on the other helicopter.
Correct.
So they'll still be a crew. They'll still be going there and having that. So that's pretty incredible right now. We're getting some great views right now.
50,000 feet.
And that is a live view from one of the 2 NASA planes out there. We've got 2 very specialized planes that are meant to look look at upper level flight data. In fact, both of those planes were here just 10 days ago when Artemis II launched, just 4 miles down the road from us. And now they're on the West Coast, tracking the Orion capsule coming in. You can see a couple of little white flashes. Those would be the thrusters just reorienting, just making sure that it's leveling out. So when it splashes down, what you would see would be ultimately the nice, smooth, flat landing. And there go the drogues.
The first series of parachutes, and we're on drogues.
There's
and Houston, we're visual 2 drogues.
That is great. Now, drogue shoots will not be good enough to slow down the spacecraft to splash down, but it helps to bleed off extra airspeed on top of the atmosphere doing its work. Those will be cut off in a very short bit before the main parachutes deploy.
Ride of a lifetime right here. Absolutely incredible.
This is something you're going to hear them talk about forever.
Oh,
perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Forever and ever, amen. Absolutely incredible seeing this.
We see the same on board.
Those 2 drogues still slowing them down. Communication with the crew.
And from this angle, you can now tell that Orion is below where this plane is. And last I saw, the plane was roughly around 40,000 feet. So there we go. We're now under 10,000. So let's just listen in to the final little things. There goes the drogues, and here come our 3 mains.
Here's the stars of the show right here.
We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on Integrity.
That will help to provide an exact GPS coordinate for recovery.
Good 3 main shoots, good reefing, good descent rate.
And we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
What a view.
This camera work is outstanding.
Yeah.
Well done, NASA.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
Everything's going good in the cabin as well.
That means that essentially, if something were to happen, that they're able to breathe oxygen on their own. They don't need any additional help within their suits.
Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
What's interesting in this black and white feed that you just saw there, that was a thermal feed. Did you see just how bright the Integrity capsule was, the Orion capsule? That was the heat of it just blasting through 450,000 miles of our atmosphere.
481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
History being made. We're going to let this happen on its own. Zach and I and our crew, we're going to step aside for now. Watch history, folks.
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth. And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts. The unofficial splashdown
right on time, right on time at 8:07.
Refined for you.
7:07 Houston time, Central time, but Eastern time 8:07 p.m. The official splash time. They hit their mark. They were right on the money.
And this is a huge success for NASA. It's a huge success for that Orion heat shield. And the last time that this heat shield is being used, remember, we learned a lot from Artemis I's heat shield test, and then ultimately the failure of certain aspects of that heat shield. NASA developing a brand new heat shield for Artemis III. The kind of iffiness of this heat shield now in the past. We can look forward to the next iteration with Artemis III next year, and a big sigh of release, big success for NASA and their teams.
Absolutely. Celebrations going on all around the country there in San Diego, at the museum for the watch party, and of course at Mission Control in Houston, breathing a sigh of relief that our astronauts are home, they are safe, and they will soon be brought in and checked out.
Members, that is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew
it is
module
not
uprighting
uncommon
system
that they might feel a little seasickness.
inflated,
NASA was talking about that with their flight surgeon today, going from 0G to those wavy waters of the Pacific. It is possible they could be a little seasick upon splashdown, but they said that is totally normal. We have medication that we're going to give them practically immediately to help to cut down on that nausea. But you see it there, folks. I mean, just amazing video from NASA's feed and from the U.S. Navy out there in the Pacific that is showing, obviously, Orion splashdown.
They just traveled 694+ thousand miles on a journey around the moon. The Artemis II crew is home. They'll be well taken care of, and they'll certainly be talking about this for the rest of their lives, and I believe we will too.
Yes, we will.
Curtis, we're going to send it back to you, sir.
Right, thank you so much, gentlemen, and you couldn't have said it better. I'm telling you, talk about something to remember here. And as you heard, there are more important steps for the recovery crews in the Pacific now. We're looking forward to crew egress coming up within the next hour. We're going to, of course, be carrying that for you here on Spectrum Network. What a time, what a special moment here to see those astronauts that we see Integrity, Orion spacecraft make its way, splashing down safely on the Pacific coast there. Of course, we will bring you special coverage at 41 minutes past the hour in just a bit here on Spectrum News as we show you another live look of the capsule there, the Orion space capsule in the Pacific Ocean here. What a sight to see as we were with them just, several days ago, back on April 1st when they left here from the Kennedy Space Center, now splashing down on, of course, the Pacific coast. We know we've heard communication from the Integrity spacecraft there, Orion capsule. Things seem to be going pretty well at this point here. And we've got more coming from, of course, the crew here as they will be making their way out. And we will get a chance to, of course, see them here as they, of course, get back acclimated to Earth here. And we'll have more coverage coming up for you at 41 minutes past the hour here on Spectrum Networks. You got what a marvel here when you see all of this take place, see all of this happen here. Very, very special moment. Of course, America, NASA making its forge again. We'll be returning you now to your
Destination Space, presented by Florida's Space Coast.
From D.C. to Tallahassee, elected officials are making decisions that affect our daily lives right here at home.
These decisions happen every day, which is why Political Connections breaks down the biggest stories every weeknight,
providing you real context and balanced analysis of the day's political news,
giving you a better understanding of how the issues impact you and your local community. Join us for Political Connections weeknights at 7 and 11:30 on Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
With Spectrum, I never miss.
I feel incredible.
Never miss a homer. Because I don't have the right app. Never miss one of these. Because I can't find my game. Spectrum makes it easy. All your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. I never miss.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
The previous portion of Spectrum Bay News 9 is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
The Trump administration is preparing for peace talks in Pakistan as the war in Iran hits the 6-week mark. President Donald Trump remains frustrated that Iran has not fully reopened the Strait of Hormuz, as new economic data shows inflation is starting to grow, in part because of rising oil prices since the war began. Our national political reporter Taylor Popolars has the latest now from the White House.
On day 3 of the U.S. and Israel ceasefire with Iran, Vice President J.D. Vance headed to Pakistan, where peace talks will take place this weekend.
As the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive.
Vance said President Donald Trump gave him clear guidelines. Vance will lead the talks alongside Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. From the White House Friday, the president posted that the Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards, other than a short-term extortion of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. New economic data out Friday showed the war's impact. Prices rose at an annual rate of 3.3% in March, up from 2.4% in February, the biggest jump in almost 4 years. Economists blame the war, saying a disruption in the oil supply sent energy prices higher. The president has argued such disruptions will be temporary and worthwhile in the long run. As Iran slow walks reopening the Strait of Hormuz to oil tankers, the Speaker of Iran's parliament posted this Friday. 2 of the measures mutually agreed upon between the parties have yet to be implemented, a ceasefire in Lebanon and the release of Iran's blocked assets prior to the commencement of negotiations. He said these 2 matters must be fulfilled before negotiations begin. Israel and the U.S. have claimed that Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire, and Israel has continued to bomb there, targeting Hezbollah, the militia group backed by Iran. But Israel and Lebanon are slated to have their own peace talks next week. Reporting at the White House, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier says the Miss America and Miss Florida pageants could be in violation of state law. In a letter to the 2 organizations, Uthmeier says both promote their competitions as women only, but then require contestants to compete against biological men. He says that would violate Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. The Attorney General also alleges a former contestant was forced to sign a contract that would force her to compete against biological males. Othmeyer says the organizations have until May 1st to show which corrective actions have been taken. In case you missed it, here's what you need to know this evening. The Tampa Bay Rays released their financing framework for their new stadium yesterday. The team proposes the city pay $251 million and the county pay $750 million, primarily through tax-backed bonds, not general funds. But that's a concern for some. The city will host a public workshop on that proposal on May 5th, so residents can weigh in. The team is pushing for all deals to be signed by June 1st to meet their 2029 opening goal.
Hey, good Friday to you. Meteorologist Brian McClure made it to the weekend. We are going to see a dry, sunny weekend ahead, a classic April weekend. So if you want to go to the beach, want to get out on the boat, want to do any outdoor activities, you're going to have really nice conditions. There'll still be a noticeable east breeze, but not nearly as strong as it was all week long. So that should allow for even some decent boating conditions, which we'll talk about in just a bit. We are going to see warmer highs. Moving forward, our highs are going to be back up around the mid-80s almost every day, but the overnight lows will actually be cooler. We'll explain that in just a bit. Unfortunately, we're going to be dry for a while. I say that unfortunately, I use that term because even though, yes, we'll have a lot of nice weather, we really need rain since we're in drought conditions, and we are not going to get any time soon. Notice 0% chance of rain, not only this weekend, but all the way into early next week. So we will have an easterly breeze that will continue. A few patchy clouds will come across the state from time to time, but we are not going to see any rain chance. We are not going to see any, really any moisture at all coming at us, and I think we'll go to a almost purely sunny skies Sunday into Monday because the air mass will be so dry. The east wind that was with us the past couple of days, and actually past, 4 days, it was pretty strong, but it's dying down. Remember a couple days ago I showed you the yellow color that was on the map. Now it's pretty isolated out in the Atlantic and way to our south. That has come way down, so the winds are coming down, but they're still from the east-northeast. So what you'll notice is it will tend to oscillate up at night and morning and then back down during the day. And generally, instead of those 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts, it'll be more like 10 to 15. So it won't be too strong. Look at these cooler overnight lows, 50s to low 60s. The reason for this is because drier air makes for temperatures that can go way up in the afternoon, but way down at night. So your highs are going to jump up into the mid 80s. Then we're going to go right back down to the 50s to low 60s again for Sunday morning. That's going to be the case almost every single day all the way into next week, where we have really warm afternoons, but we have really comfortable mornings. So get out in the mornings if you want the cooler air. There's your east wind, a bit breezy in the morning, 15 knots, but then coming down to 10 knots in the afternoon from the north. 7-day forecast morning shows. There are those warm afternoons, and next week it gets even warmer with upper 80s, and by the end of the week, we might even touch 90 degrees.
At Your Evening News, bringing you the stories that matter to the Tampa Bay community is our privilege.
That means we have the responsibility to provide impactful reporting across our communities.
Every evening, we ensure that you have in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
Plus your Weather on the Nines forecast for the end of your day and to plan your tomorrow.
Join us for Your Evening News, weeknights starting at 5 on Spectrum Bay News 9.
Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
Has anyone seen my keys?
Spectrum can't help you find your keys, but they can help you find your IndyCar race. With Spectrum TV, it's easy to find exactly what you want.
We are racing!
Watch every NTT IndyCar Series race on Fox and stream on Fox 1. All your races, all in one place. Spectrum and Fox Sports. It's a no-brainer.
This is so embarrassing.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Everybody needs food, but some people love exploring food as a hobby. We call them foodies. Now, this weekend is the Florida Foodies Fest. It's a two-day culinary festival in St. Pete. More than 100 vendors providing all kinds of different foods will be on hand. Our Jeff Van Sant went on the town to speak to one vendor who just 6 months ago started his own business selling crab cakes and mac and cheese.
All right, well, what we're making is my crab cake.
In the small kitchen of his food truck, Randall McDonald is living his dream.
See that good lump?
Making crab cakes and smoked Gouda, mac and cheese.
Food is for the soul at the end of the day.
It's even topped off with a secret sauce of his own making.
It's a lot. I call it law sauce. Like, good Lord, it's so good.
He runs the truck with the help of his fiancée, Shar Jackson. She's his muse.
He had great food. He had great concepts, and so I just wanted to encourage him to do something for himself.
My fiance loves crab cakes, and she was like, make me a crab cake one day. And I made it for her, and she was like, oh my gosh, this is so good, and we got to sell it.
Char's the one that put the bug in Randall's ear to start his own business. It turned into Crab and Mac.
We started out as a tent, like a tent that we are in like right now, and it worked. We just started selling crab cakes, smoked Gouda mac, and fried rice, lemonade. That was it.
He doesn't want to spill the tea on what makes his crab cakes and mac so good, but he puts a lot of love and sweat into making the business thrive.
The reason why I love it is because it's the taste of home, and it's also I love macaroni and cheese, and he has the best macaroni and cheese.
McDonald's food truck will be one of many featured at the Florida Foodies Fest. Over 2 days, the culinary festival in St. Pete celebrates the wide variety of food you can find in the Bay Area. For McDonald, this is only the beginning. He's in a food truck now, but he hopes to establish a brick-and-mortar restaurant.
This is the best crab cake either I had in a long time or I've had in my life. And check my reviews.
He's confident folks will love what he is serving up. In St. Pete, Jeff Van Sant, Spectrum News.
The family-friendly festival takes place Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's located off Gandy Boulevard in St. Pete in the parking lot of the historic Derby Lane, just west of the Gandy Bridge.
Weather on the 9s, your local forecast every 10 minutes.
The line of showers moving quickly through the Tampa Bay area right now.
Bringing you accurate information from your trusted weather experts, whenever and wherever you need it.
As you plan your weekend, count on a chance of rain by Sunday.
Your community, your weather, every 10 minutes. Tampa Bay's calm in the storm. That's our commitment to you. Weather on the 9s on Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
This is a very special place. It is a place where we like to think we make memories.
Spectrum is a great partner for BSG in a variety of ways, but the first thing that comes to my mind is reliability.
Spectrum powers ticketing, point of sales, scoreboards. They provide the capacity for nearly 20,000 people in the arena.
Our fans have an expectation that technology is part of their experience, and Spectrum helps us do that.
News, presented by Lexus. Experience amazing.
Good evening, I'm Rick Elmhorst, and this is your Spectrum News in 90. Crews will soon begin work expanding the Selman Expressway. The $362 million project should see each direction expanded by one lane. The expansion will go for 4.5 miles from West Himes Avenue to Florida Avenue in downtown Tampa. According to the Tampa Bay Business Journal, construction is scheduled to begin next month. That project should be completed by 2030. Tampa International Airport is steaming ahead with its ticketing level overhaul. The airport will spend $285 million trying to streamline the ticketing process for passengers. The plan is to expand the ticketing floor into the valet area. That'll give people more space to line up at the counters. They'll also put in new ticket kiosks and add self-service bag drops. The Hillsborough County Aviation Authority just approved a design contract. Construction is scheduled to begin next year and wrap up in 2029. And Advent Health has broken ground on a freestanding emergency room in Newport Richey. The hospital chain picked the State Road 54 location to help improve healthcare access where options may be limited. That facility will be equipped with X-ray, CT, triage rooms, and 12 patient beds. That facility expected to open in 2027. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
Really comfortable overnight lows. When you head out the door in the morning, we're talking about temperatures that are going to be all the way down to the 50s to low 60s, and get used to it. We're going to have comfortable overnight lows all the way into early next week. Mostly clear skies, nice breeze from the east. That breeze from the east that we had all the week, it's not as strong. So not as breezy, but yes, still with us. There you can see that east to northeast wind. If you're headed to the beach, beautiful weather with a high temperature right around the low 80s.
The second largest air show in the country is back for another year and is expected to drive more revenue into Central Florida's economy. In Lakeland, local businesses are preparing for the annual Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. Spectrum News reporter Alexis Jones spoke with one owner who's looking forward to a big increase in visitors.
What's fun without some candy? Paul Loicano says that's exactly why he opened Pal's Candy Shop in downtown Lakeland.
I wanted to build a place that will bring joy to people, and I think this place does.
Loicano started bringing nostalgic sweet treats to the area a little over a year ago. Last April, he opened his doors just days before the kickoff of the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. So this year, he says, he's even more prepared to welcome new customers.
Because with an inflow of people, I just want to have the candies that people like.
Loicano says he's expecting much more foot traffic this time around, mostly due to a new partnership between Citrus Connection and Sun and Fun. Shuttle services will run every 25 minutes during the 6-day event, bringing visitors to popular spots across Lakeland, including downtown. Eric Crump, vice president of the Aerospace Center for Excellence, says the air show generates more than $60 million for Central Florida. Last year's event attracted about 210,000 visitors, the best turnout on record. Crump says ticket sales are already 25% higher, which is expected to boost the local economy even more.
And it's not just Lakeland, because you're talking about hotel rooms being sold out all the way to Brandon to the west and Kissimmee to the east, restaurants, servers, grocery stores, all of that.
As for Loicano, he hopes the crowds come with a sweet tooth or room for a little more joy.
Everybody's a kid in the candy store at Pal's.
In Lakeland, Alexis Jones, Spectrum News.
And the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo starts Monday and it'll run through next Sunday. For information on Citrus Connection shuttle hours and drop-off locations, you can go to our website, baynews9.com. The Federal Aviation Administration is turning to an unlikely talent pool to fill a shortage of air traffic controllers, video gamers. They say they're looking for skills that gamers already use: quick thinking, focus, and managing complex situations under pressure. Recruits are promised paid training, strong benefits, and the potential to earn more than $155,000 within a few years. The push comes as the agency works to modernize aging systems and rebuild a workforce hit by retirements and pandemic slowdowns. The applications open on April the 17th. It's time for a look at the latest gas prices. As you head into the weekend, averages have dipped a little bit, but they're still high compared to a month ago, of course. Here's a look at the average prices in your area. According to AAA, Florida is sitting at $4.09. That's a few cents down from yesterday. The national average is $4.15. The 2-cent drop is the first time the U.S. average has fallen by more than a penny since the war with Iran started in late February. Analysts say any price drops today will be limited by the fact that oil is still very expensive. Humanity County leaders are taking their local solutions to a national stage. They've been invited to a summit on addiction and homelessness. Commissioner Amanda Ballard and one of Manatee's case managers will be sharing their approach with leaders from across the country. Manatee is being recognized for programs like Under One Roof and the Fresh Start Initiative, both aimed at helping people get back on their feet.
Excited about it. We're going to talk about some of the partnerships that we have, what we've been doing so far, how it's been working, and how it can potentially be replicated in other areas.
I hope to learn more from experts around the country and bring back those connections, so when we have something come up in Manatee County, I can reach out and just gain knowledge and see things from a different lens.
That White House summit runs from next Monday and Tuesday. Project Focus, a local nonprofit that provides support services and programs to young adults with disabilities, is now reaching out to younger students with its Focus Day School. The school serves students in 3rd through 6th grade. Spectrum Bay News 9's Fallon Silcox visited the school and has more on how it's helping students who sometimes fall through the cracks in traditional schools.
Welcome to Miss Megan's class at the new Focus Day School in Temple Terrace. Today's lesson includes actual seed planting.
Basil seeds.
But in this classroom, metaphorically speaking, even more seeds are being planted each day. Seeds of curiosity, confidence, and growth. Focus Day School serves students with special needs like autism, learning disabilities, ADHD, speech or language delays, and intellectual disabilities.
The population that we're serving here, they're kids who they're struggling in general education classrooms and they don't qualify for, the self-contained ESC classrooms. And so they're just floundering. And because of those budget cuts and those different things that are happening, our kids end up just getting lost.
Elizabeth Radka is the head of schools. She says here, students find their place. The goal isn't to grow. Focus Day School will stay small to meet students' individual needs. It's been open since August, and Radka says it's a success. One student even said it's better than chicken nuggets, which meant a lot to her.
She said my student always was either coming home crying from school on a daily basis, or she was crying and not wanting to go to school every day, and now she looks forward to coming every day.
Students not only learn the basics, math, reading, and science, they also incorporate mental health and drama therapy. For example, creating stories through puppets.
My name is Cheesy.
It actually helps students in some of the areas they struggle with most in traditional school, communicating and socializing.
Like with any of us, what we project out is usually what's going on inside, so it gives them a chance sometimes to work through some issues that they might be having.
At Focus Day School, she says it's not just about students finding their voice, it's about them finally being heard. In Temple Terrace, I'm Fallon Silcox, Spectrum News.
Well, the deadline to file your taxes is right around the corner, so the IRS is offering some extra help for those who haven't filed yet. The Tampa office is extending its hours on Saturday. The process, of course, can sometimes be complicated, but if it's any incentive, taxpayers who've already filed are seeing financial benefits this year. They're noticing either bigger tax refunds or paying less than they normally would.
You've got the deductibility of car interest for the first time in many, many years. That's been a big one for certain people that bought cars in 2025. Then we're seeing, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime has been a big one.
But the key is filing on time by April the 15th. Otherwise, some of those savings could be wiped out by penalties. The Tampa IRS office will be open tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
The temperatures this morning were really comfortable. I don't know if you're one of those early risers that's able to get out really early, right around the sunrise time. It was very comfortable, 50s to low 60s. Get used to it. It's actually going to be really comfortable moving forward most of this next week for morning lows. But here's the irony. The afternoon highs will continue to warm up. So the afternoon highs were around the low to mid 80s today. They'll be right around the low to mid 80s tomorrow. But then on Sunday, they'll be mid 80s. Then most of next week, mid to upper 80s. So the afternoon highs will slowly climb up. The overnight lows will actually be a little bit cooler. This is because drier air is moving in. Remember, most of this week we had some showers and clouds coming in off the Atlantic. That is not the case anymore. Drier air has gotten wrapped around this high pressure, and dry air is coming down from the mid-Atlantic and northeast and right down into our area. Dry air cools down rapidly at night, warms up rapidly during the day. And so you can see that reflected with the dew point. See how low that dew point is. This is the difference between our summer pattern and our spring pattern. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to over the years about this. They'll say, well, gosh, you know, there's really not that much difference between a high of 88 in April and a high of 90 in the summer. True, temperature-wise, but not true humidity-wise. Massive difference humidity-wise. It's tons muggier in the summer, and that's why it can feel comfortable this time of year, because even though it gets warm, we tend to have very comfortable mornings and evenings. So only a few passing clouds in the afternoon for tomorrow. With a dry atmosphere, you're not going to get a whole lot in the way of cloud cover, and really there's not going to be much in the way of any active weather. Lows 50s and low 60s overnight. For tomorrow, mostly sunny, warm afternoon with highs in the mid-80s, but a pleasant breeze from the east. Again, like I said yesterday, the main storm system is actually out in the western U.S. coming in off the Pacific. Huge rains and snow coming into California. Very beneficial for them. Like us, they've been in drought conditions, so this is really, really helping to bring them out of the drought and giving their Sierra Nevada mountains massive snows in the spring, which is good because they kind of missed out on some of the heavier snows this winter. For us, unfortunately, we're headed in the opposite direction. It's going to be dry for a while. I'll talk about that in your 7-day in less than 10 minutes.
Destination Space presented by Florida's Space Coast.
Thank you for joining us from across Spectrum Networks. I'm Curtis McLeod. The Artemis II crew now back on Earth. You saw it happen live here the moment they splashed back down in the Pacific Ocean, capping off a historic 10-day mission around the moon. We're happy to welcome them home. Up next, crew egress, better known as the moment when the crew exits the capsule for the very first time. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Want to go ahead and send things over to our space experts, Greg Pallone and Zach Covey at the Kennedy Space Center. Hey, guys.
Hey, how you doing? Wow, absolute. We're stunned. We're stunned at just how precise, how beautiful that was. Just an incredible landing to really cap off a historic mission around the moon. The Artemis II crew now safely back on Earth. They're in their capsule right now as we speak, Zach, waiting for the recovery team to get them out of there so they can fly them to the recovery ship.
And once the recovery team reaches them, which could be in a matter of minutes from the aerials that we have been seeing, they'll erect a massive floating structure they called the front porch, and that is where the 4 flight surgeons from the nearby Navy ship, the John P. Murtha, will actually get on this big floating platform they erect and then open up the Orion capsule. From there, they'll check the vital signs of the 4 astronauts and then extract them one by one before they attach them. Believe it or not, their flight time is not done, to a helicopter. They'll then take a 10-minute helicopter ride from where they splashed down over to the John P. Murtha.
This ends a trip of a lifetime, or many lifetimes, if you will. They traveled 694,000 miles on their journey around the moon. So just an incredible journey, incredible trip, incredible milestones being made, seeing the far side of the moon with human eyes for the first time. And no doubt all of the data that they collected and saw for themselves will be passed along to NASA scientists so we can go and fly to the moon to stay.
And I've already been on social media. They are getting tons of congratulations. You saw a nearby soccer match displaying the game on, where was that, Louisville, Kentucky?
I think it was the United Football League.
That's right.
That's football. That's soccer.
Football for somebody else.
But
I saw the Empire State Building has now changed their colors tonight to red, white, and blue. They waited for Orion to splash down before they did that. So the social media praise is starting to come on as well.
I'm not a Mets fan, but even the Mets put it on their Jumbotron for their game tonight. So that was something to be said. And if you want to talk about something that has been seen by the planet, this has been documented, and no doubt that people are watching from all around the world to see this, because this mission is it's a uniter. It brought people together, brought humanity together, because you have these people so brave with thousands back here on Earth, willing to fly in a spacecraft for the first time. They've never flown a crew in this, going around the room, and NASA had it planned out to a T, and they landed exactly when they said. And that was at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Precision, no doubt.
I mean, hats off to NASA. Hats off to their European Space Partner team, the teams up at the Canadian Space Agency. JAXA had a part in the Artemis II program as well, so hats off to all of them. And in order to figure out how NASA is feeling, why not head right to the source? We'll head over to our Brian Bose out there in the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Brian, let me tell you, it was amazing to watch here. How was it there in Mission Control?
A little bit of both, guys. It was nerve-wracking, but it was also quite exciting. And the reason for that is we kind of have these different views from around here that are a little quicker than what we're seeing at home. And it's also, we have some people that are on walkie-talkies, that are on the phone, that were kind of directing shots. And it came to that negative view. And I'm not really sure if the folks at home actually got to see it, but it was that black and white view, kind of like when you develop pictures and you had that black and white negative view, and you could see the flames coming off Orion. You could see the sparks, and there's a bit of PTSD still from 1985, and that's something that people here still remember, the Challenger disaster. 7 people losing their lives, 4 astronauts, Krista McCullough. It's still a hard thing to talk about in this area. So there was excitement, but there was also that moment of 6 minutes of silence as they were breaking back into the atmosphere. And then there was that moment when you want to make sure everything goes right, and you see the parachutes go up, and you saw those sparks, and then you saw the different view, and there was a little applause when it was in the air, and you saw it floating down towards the waters of the Pacific Ocean. And then there was huge applause when it splashed down. When it splashed down and they were good, and then this place erupted. It's Houston, and this is what you wanted to see after all those years, after the '85 tragedy, when space exploration was kind of put on hold. And now to get where we are now, to be going back to the moon, to circle the moon, go farther than anyone's ever gone before, knowing that eventually we're going to land on the moon, it's absolutely an amazing scenario. It's an amazing scenario for people here in Houston as the sun finally begins to set. It was a nerve-wracking day, and now it's finally coming to an end. And these folks, these astronauts, will be back here in this room at some point, either later on tonight or tomorrow, and they'll speak to everyone.
It's going to be absolutely incredible to see the reunion with their families. They got a chance to talk to their families during this mission several times in a semi-private situation, but still, as all of them described, as we talked to them along the journey, they described the emotions that they were feeling. Their family, just to be able to speak to their families and just talk to them and talk about what they're doing, where they are. And then I remember Reed Wiseman saying something about talking to one of his daughters, and he said it was almost as if they were giving them the news of how we were reacting to their mission here on Earth. So that right there says it all. When you're talking about people, you're talking about getting people to the moon to stay. That indeed is something that's amazing.
It's truly a humanity moment.
True.
I mean, we also talk about Reed's late wife, and now he went around the moon, and now can forever look at the moon and know that there is a crater there that, once approved by NASA and the space agencies out there across the globe, that it will forever carry his late wife's name.
Carol Wiseman absolutely passed away of cancer back in 2020, but that is the ultimate high ground dedication, no doubt. It just shows the appreciation that they have for that and their family. So, folks, we saw it just a short time ago. We actually witnessed history out off the coast of California, the splashdown of the Artemis II crew, Integrity, and this is what it looked and sounded like.
VLDR. Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Live pictures now of the recovery team on the boat. They have approached the Integrity spacecraft. They've already made contact through the window with the crew. The crew is healthy, by the way. They said that. They were fine after that splashdown. Do we ever get an exact miles per hour that they have? They said that yet. They were saying anywhere from 17 to 20 miles an hour, so we'll see how close.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how close. What NASA said about an hour prior to splashdown was that it would be 19 precisely, and that's how NASA likes to do. They are precise on everything. And so far with how this mission has gone, I can't imagine that it's not 19 miles per hour.
It's probably 19.3.
Exactly.
The way they are.
So we'll probably learn that from the post-splashdown press conference. But those live pictures that you see, the boats, the recovery team now getting there. The Zodiac closest to the Orion capsule is the first one that's going to make contact. They should be setting up the bridge with the bigger team right behind them, and that's going to be the inflatable bridge that gets put up called the front porch. And then one by one, we will begin to extract those astronauts, and we're going to bring it to you live. We are with you through the duration of this extraction process.
Yep, we're looking at least 9:06 right now, so that's about 16 minutes from this point. The front porch is just aptly named. They've gotten home. They're home. So why not make your first movement out of your spacecraft? Come to the front porch so the team can take that. So the helicopters are in the area, and we've seen them flying in and out of frame. They're definitely hovering overhead, preparing for the extraction. And what we're told by NASA is Christina Cook will get out first. She will be put on your front porch, if you will, and then hoisted up to the one helicopter. Next up, after she is taken out, will be Jeremy, and Jeremy will come out, the Canadian astronaut, on his first space flight.
In fact, during the mission, Reed Wiseman called down, and this was something I've never heard. He called down to Mission Control, and I guess they have a patch for every astronaut that is within the Corps that has not flown to space, and it has the names on them. He called down to Mission Control a couple days ago and said, "Can you please black out Jeremy's name?" And so Mission Control took a Sharpie and blacked it off of that patch.
Jeremy Hansen, now an experienced, seasoned astronaut, going to the moon for the first space flight. How incredible is that? Let's also talk about the other two crew members. Victor Glover will be extracted from the capsule after them. He'll be hoisted up to the helicopter, and then our commander, Reed Wiseman, will be taken out. And it's about a 30-minute trip to get to the USS Bertha.
I think it's going to be around 30 to 40 minutes in total for the vital signs, getting them onto the helicopter. From what I've heard, it's about a 10-minute helicopter ride, but then they obviously have to extract them from the helicopter. We don't know how gravity is going to impact them. Remember, 0G for 10 days. That takes a toll on the body when you come back to 1G here on Earth. So they could be a little wobbly. So overall, this entire process taking probably about 30 to 40 minutes. Obviously, that is if everything goes correctly.
The parachutes worked flawlessly. 11 parachutes coming out after re-entry. The first initial parachutes slowing the spacecraft down, but then the three mains, once those mains went out, you said they are home, and they deployed perfectly right on the target, and they were able to float it down to that very easy Pacific Ocean landing. So recovery teams to continue to be surrounding the capsule. They're getting everything in order so they can extract the crew here in about a little bit more than 10 minutes or so. So that's what they're working towards at this moment. And they've heard from the crew, and the crew is fine. Everyone is in good spirits. And everyone really involved in the recovery mission, they are focused, laser focused on getting that crew to the ship as soon as they can.
And the reason they don't go direct to the ship immediately is Orion has to shut down the capsule. So we have to shut down, power down integrity. And then they also do something called a hazardous gas check.
Yes.
Basically, remember, there's a lot of different gases that go into making spacecraft propel themselves in space. You've got hydrogen, you've got helium, you've got oxygen, you've got nitrogen at times. So they have to make sure that these gases aren't mixing or maybe leaking from the spacecraft. They've got to do those hazardous gas checks before they send these 40 response crew members and 3 Zodiac boats out to the ship. The last thing you want is something to go wrong with those hazardous gases mixing and adding in seawater as well as the ship continues to cool. We are past that point because we would not see the boats this close to Orion. So what they're doing now is they've been given the okay to, dock up against them. But now it's the crew's tough task of, okay, how do we get into Orion? How do we, build up this kind of raft, this front porch, if you will, to extract them safely? Now, these crews have trained for this. They've been training for years, just like the astronauts trained for the mission. But it is something else when you're doing it in a simulated environment versus the actual Pacific Ocean with 4 to 5 foot swells. Winds today are around 18 miles per hour. No rainfall. The skies actually cleared out for Orion's capsule entry. You can actually see the sun is shining on the Orion capsule right now. So it's good weather, but again, it's a little different than doing it in a massive pool for training.
Also, they're training, when they were testing the spacecraft, they were testing it over in the waters off of Port Canaveral. So that's a very contained area as well. This is the vast Pacific Ocean, the largest ocean on the planet. So you can see that they are teetering just a little bit, but they're making progress. And they're waving. They're waving. Gosh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic.
And as there are mission audio loops in Mission Control in Houston, there is a mission audio loop here on the ship.
I believe they've opened the outer capsule hatch. Remember, there are 2 capsule hatches. We talked about this just 10 days ago, that there is an outer capsule hatch and an inner capsule hatch. So they have opened what appears to be the outer capsule hatch, and we should begin to see a team member going in shortly. And it looks like they are starting to, there you go, step aboard Orion. What these crew members are going to do first is check the vital signs. They're going to check the vital signs and get the initial vitals of all 4 astronauts. Reed Wiseman multiple times now has told Houston, we are good, everybody's good since the splashdown. But the medical professionals, the 4 medical professionals stepping aboard are going to get the basic vital signs, blood pressure, temperature, stuff like that, just so they know a baseline of what they're working with each astronaut. So when they get back to the ship, each flight surgeon that is working with these astronauts knows how to properly treat them.
And some Dramamine if they need it. It does look a little choppy out there. So, but you've got a tough group right here. And again, a tight-knit group. We were hearing from the crew along the way, especially toward the end of the mission, just how much of a bond they have now. They were preparing for this as a crew for 3 years. The moment finally came. They launched from right here at the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st. And then this mission now concluding with that splashdown after traveling more than 690,000 miles around the moon to get all of that data, take all of that imagery of a place we want to go back to and stay. That is NASA's mantra now, building a moon base and being able to jump off to Mars and other deep space destinations. But it all starts with this. You have to start somewhere. And we're going to hear in the coming days the successes and maybe some other issues they may have had on this that we don't know about yet. But again, this is a test. This is because they want things to happen so it doesn't happen in the future. But the really bold thing about this flying crew in a spacecraft that has never flown to space, absolutely incredible. That has not happened since the first space shuttle.
Yeah,
they had not flown the first space shuttle. Bob Crippen and John Young, the commander, the pilot, getting on there, an unproven machine that had never flown before. That, of course, was a success, as this one was for Artemis II. So we've come a long way since Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, the Skylab, Space Station, and now Artemis II. And of course, we've got other crewed launches happening commercially, going to the International Space Station. It's a busy place right now. It's a busy place. It's a place that certainly is in demand, and NASA sees that, and they're proving themselves every day, and every day of this mission as well.
I mean, case in point, while we were in between live hits, we saw a booster go by for an upcoming Falcon 9 Heavy mission, the center course. So you say it's a busy place. It truly is. We watched one just drive by us not even an hour ago. We bring it back to, this is a test flight. Obviously, as you guys continue to watch live photos and videos of the recovery crews, and we'll keep you updated on that. We're just waiting for more information back from NASA. But we were talking about this being a test flight, and a lot of people say, well, why is this a big deal, right? We send people up to the ISS quite frequently. You talk about SpaceX. They do it, twice a year with these commercial crew missions, and then they do it a couple extra times for some paid vacation missions up to space if you've got enough money for it. So the big difference, though, is that's to low Earth orbit. We call it LEO. When you return from LEO, low Earth orbit, you're not going nearly as fast. You're not burning up in the atmosphere as hot as the Orion capsule was today. You're returning from the moon, and the Earth is going to keep pulling and pulling something in faster and faster and faster. It's the difference of dropping a penny a foot off the ground or off the top of the Empire State Building. The speed is going to be drastically different, and when you add in thermal components, it's going to get hotter. So this was a big-time test. It was 3 times faster than the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule coming in to Earth's atmosphere. And again, a lot of unknowns about the Orion's heat shield. I'm very excited to see how this new trajectory impacted it. Artemis III is going to have a completely new heat shield. So regardless if this heat shield, did what it should or, had some flaws, it's out the window. We've moved past it. We have a better design.
Museum.
Exactly. We have a better design. They've tested this new design over and over again. It's looking really positive for future Moon and Mars missions. But it comes back to all of the data that we learned from this test flight, and how can we go into Artemis III, which launches the middle part of next year, better. And then Artemis 4 and 5, which are our moon landings, in 2028, and we're hearing Artemis 4 is early 2028. So we're talking less than 2 years launching another crew, this time landing on the moon.
You got to wonder, and I'm sure they'll be asked in the coming days whether they got up there and they're orbiting the moon at that particular orbit, if they were tempted just to go down. Let's go down. They wanted to go down.
I'm almost certain Victor had his hands on the controls, and
I pilot this
Christina had to pull him away. Exactly.
No, Vic, you can't do that. But they did break a record. They broke Apollo 13's record for the furthest distance traveled by humans from Earth. It kind of bittersweet. Apollo 13 is near and dear to so many because that was the successful failure, they call it, after having the issues in space with that explosion inside the spacecraft. So those traveling, I remember watching Apollo 13, and there's Tom Hanks as Jim Lovell, wishing that as they're passing the moon, can we just go down there? Can we just go down? But these 4 astronauts, they've proven themselves on this mission, and no doubt they will be listed for future moon missions. No doubt, they're all young enough, and they're experienced now, and so their experience is really going to pay off as they pass along that experience to Artemis 3, Artemis 4, and all the other missions that are upcoming that will actually land on the moon. So
you mentioned their experience. Yes. It's very possible that we see Reed as commander of Artemis 4 and Victor as a pilot for either Artemis 4 or Artemis 5 with the experience they got and the position of the cameras for potential landing sites, moon bases. NASA will easily be throwing all 4 of these astronauts to the top of their list for some of those first initial moon landings. I don't think that we have heard the last of these 4 astronauts.
I got a feeling that bond is really a bond, and they're bonded for life as they've been sharing this with the world. They've been sharing their journey with the world, and we have to think back too about the mission team, the launch team. How many hours have they put in to have this be a success? How much work has gone into this? How many sleepless nights? How much overtime have they worked to make this a success? To not only launch these astronauts from right here at the Kennedy Space Center, but for them to land in the Pacific Ocean safely after almost 10 days in space. It takes incredible technical prowess. We got some really brilliant minds on this this NASA team, and of course all the other companies that work for NASA contracting to be able to make this mission a success. So hats off to the team for this, and everything that we've heard so far went well. It went well, and so we'll see what type of data they get from the entire mission.
This comes back to 10 days ago. I mean, if anyone at NASA is breathing a sigh of relief today, yes, it's the administrator, yes, it's the teams that have worked on it, but I have to think of John Honeycutt, who's the lead of the mission management team, who went through some trials and tribulations with the SEALs on the Artemis II rocket. I mean, the leading up to the launch itself was, will these SEALs hold? Could there be leaks? Are we going to do another wet dress? And then we obviously saw a very successful launch 10 days ago. Not one real issue outside of 2 issues in the final 40 minutes of count, but they were resolved like that. And then we see what mostly was a flawless mission around the moon, and a flawless, to us, splashdown there in the Pacific. Only minor things that we've learned so far: the toilet had some issues there, and Microsoft Outlook. Microsoft Outlook didn't decide to work, and they had 2 of them, and neither ones were working. So, if at the end of the day the NASA teams say that those were our biggest problems, I think this is a big success, and John Honeycutt, I can only imagine, is breathing a sigh of relief to now hand it over to the recovery teams from this point forward.
You mentioned the administrator, Jarek Isaacman. He's a seasoned pilot. He's flown to space on the private missions, and now as administrator, he was asked, and we documented this as it was happening, right before launch, would he rather be on board or would he rather be doing what he's doing, observing? He said, I'd rather be on board. I'm less stressed about that. And there's a sigh of relief. We're going to be hearing more from him as he's now the leader of NASA and leading these Artemis programs that are coming up, or missions, I should say. So again,
he's done a lot of big changes already
in just a very, very short amount of time. He's made big changes to the mission profiles themselves about when we're going to land and that type of thing.
The solid rocket boosters of Artemis III arrived here at Kennedy Space Center in Florida earlier this week. The core stage set to depart from out there at their facility in New Orleans in about 10 days, and then that core stage will be brought over here. And from what we heard from Jared earlier this week is that the mobile launcher is about to roll back. They actually rolled the crawler out there, and that the mobile launcher had minimal damage compared to what they suspected, and that was a huge change because Artemis I really decimated that launcher. They had to do a lot of repairs. For those of you that don't know what the mobile launcher is, it's the entire structure that rolls the entire rocket out of the building to the launch pad. So when it launches, you can imagine standing underneath a rocket's going to create a lot of debris. They're saying they had minimal effort on, or minimal things that they're going to need to fix. We could be talking starting to stack the Artemis III rocket as early as this summer. That is an accelerated timeline compared to Artemis I to Artemis II.
If you compare this cadence with the space shuttle program, that obviously was conceived in the 70s, and the very first one flew back in 1981. They expected these shuttles to fly every week. They said, we're going to fly every week. Well, they realized they were dealing with the most complicated machine ever built. And sadly, comes with that, you have trials and tribulations. You have technical issues and all that. So they flew for 30 years and averaged probably about once a year. Yep. And every once in a while you might see two. But this is much, much different. I mean, it feels different. You know, we've talked about this, and, you know, just this mission and going through it, for those of us who don't recall the Apollo missions because either we weren't here or we were too young.
That's me.
Okay. Well, don't overstate the obvious here, okay? But as far as that, you can feel it. You can feel the excitement as there's something that we're looking forward to. You know, now that this mission is complete, the cadence is going to ramp up, and we could be on the moon in just a couple of years.
Well, again, we're talking 2 moon landings. That's what Jared wants by 2028. That would be early 2028 and supposedly mid to late 2028. They're unsure on exactly where that would fall. But again, in theory, we're talking 2 moon landings in roughly 2 years. And with that second moon landing, they want to start building the structure of the moon base. So, yes, we would return from the moon on that second moon landing, but we would be leaving behind pieces to begin building our base. And this all stems from Artemis III next year, which will start to test the moon landers. So we're going to notice how Blue Origin's lander will work. Obviously, SpaceX has been doing a lot of work out in Texas. How does their Starship handle lunar landings as well? We'll potentially start seeing Starship launch here very shortly at Kennedy Space Center. So the cadence across the entire Artemis program, it's not just NASA, but their partners with Blue Origin and their partners with SpaceX for the actual lunar landers themselves are really going to be picking up this year. So even though, yes, the Artemis II mission is coming to a close right now, really the start of this new U.S. space race with China to get back to the moon is in full swing. And we're going to continue to see more launches like this later on this year and really heading into next year and 2028 as well.
This really embraces NASA's mission. When the space shuttle was announced, the space shuttle was going to be retiring, and it retired in 2011. I got a lot of calls from people, family and friends across the country. Greg, what are you going to do now that NASA's shutting down? We talked about this before, but NASA was not shutting down. NASA had a new vision, a new way to go. So they decided to leave low Earth orbit to commercial space and let them go to deep space. And here we are, after an almost 10-day mission, going back to the moon for the first time since 1972. It was an incredible event that happened here just a short time ago out in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, California. Artemis II and their 4-member crew landing for a splashdown. Check it out.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
The baritone voice of Rob Navius there at Mission Control in Houston describing this journey and what it means to go back to our nearest celestial neighbor, that is the moon. But that will not be the last stop. We have many stops to go on in the future. This just the first step. Just as the first step on the moon was made by Neil Armstrong in 1969, this is the first step to get us back to the moon and then beyond. And everything was just incredible to follow this along.
This entire mission. I mean, we talk about the day-by-days, right? From the wake-up songs that we've been trying to figure out what are they waking up to every morning, to the foods. Something like, I believe it was over 400 tortillas went up with them so they could have different spreads on it. Maple syrup went up because, of course, Hansen said he needed his maple syrup. Just this entire mission. Obviously culminating in the flyby, the photos, the videos we received back. And I've been seeing on social media a lot of people saying, you know, that 6-minute blackout today, they can only imagine what it looked like for the astronauts inside. Folks, if you don't think that NASA doesn't have cameras on the inside and outside of those spacecrafts, we will get photos and videos. I'm almost guaranteeing that, because that is perfect data for them to analyze. And, you know, will we get that tonight? Probably not, but I'm sure that will come out in the next few days, and you will be able to see what it felt like for Victor Glover coming on in, knowing that he can't take the controls of the Orion spacecraft. It is in the computer's hands at this point. All the way down from 450,000 miles above Earth to splashing down at, we'll see what the official number is, but I'll go with 19 miles per hour if NASA's right on the dot.
Yeah, when we hear from the crew about their mission, you know, it's one thing to talk to them in space, which is incredible in itself, to be able to have that communication and be able to hear them as they're going along on the mission. But really looking forward to talking to them once they're back, once they're get back and get healthy and get normal with our gravity again, and just hear their experience just firsthand about what they've been asked, you know, what was your favorite part? Well, there's so many, and so I'm sure there's some things that they have experienced that they haven't shared with us yet. So just looking forward to that, and also looking forward to hearing from the mission team, because you know, like you said, John Honeycutt put his heart and soul into this along with the others. So just to hear from them and to hear the gratification and you know, what they were going through as we were nearing the end of the mission, and again, something that they knew it would be a finite amount of time, just a little under 10 days or so. But just to hear those fine details and get dive right into their experience of this, because they experienced it with their own eyes.
Yeah.
They were there.
And we'll hear from some of those mission members later on tonight. We will be with you live from coast to coast, from New York to Pasadena, right? From Texas to St. Louis. We're going to be with you carrying the live press conference. We've got Lori Glaze, Acting Associate Administrator of NASA's Exploration Systems Mission Directorate. We've got Howard Hugh from NASA's Orion Project, Sean Quinn, Manager of NASA's Exploration Ground Systems, and more coming up to talk to us later on today. Big mission day for NASA, and this is going to be a really good press conference. That is slated right now for 10:30 Eastern. So that would be 7:30 Pacific. We will be with you carrying that press conference live, and you'll get to hear exactly how NASA is feeling right after this historic mission. And then, yes, in the coming day or so, we'll probably hear from the astronauts themselves as well as their families. We've been told that they will likely be able to talk with their families as well in front of the media. So very curious to see how the family dynamic is, because when the astronauts are up there, each family is actually assigned a NASA astronaut as a liaison. It's a very testing and trying time. They can rely on these NASA astronauts that have some history, that have some knowledge as to what their husband or wife, what their father or mother may be going through. They can kind of rely on that astronaut liaison, if you will. It's a whole different thing when they're back home and they can physically be right next to them. So that's going to be exciting.
So many special moments coming up for that. You know, I'm sure for the families, 10 days may have seemed like 10 years.
Yeah.
Are you coming home? When are you coming back? You know, come back soon. But just the fact that they were brave enough to allow their family members to go on this journey. They are brave too. It's almost like a member of the military. The family is just as important and just as brave. So to get those interactions and to hear that's going to be special as well. As we're still awaiting the extraction of the crew.
Taking a little longer than we thought, but that's okay.
Yep, they're getting in the steps, running a little bit behind. But you never know. Maybe inside, Reed, Christina, Victor, and Jeremy are saying, you know, I'm kind of comfortable right now. I really don't want to leave my spacecraft that took me on this historic mission. So that could be their thought right now. But you can see, again, the boats are surrounding the Orion capsule.
And I believe, I don't want to say for certain, but we do know that 2 crew members from U.S. Navy's surgical team essentially went into Artemis there to check the vitals of the astronauts. I believe they are still on there because in the foreground you see a boat there that only has 2 crew members.
They disappeared.
As well as the pilots. So where are those other 2? So I'm going to assume they are still in the capsule taking the vital signs, doing the first initial medical assessment. And again, that is important because the actual NASA flight surgeon and the actual NASA medical team is on the ship just about a mile away, the John P. Murtha ship. And they have a full suite medical bay set up on the deck of the ship. So once the helicopter lands with the astronauts, it will then become NASA's priority of taking them over with NASA's flight surgeon. And because we have that U.S. Navy medical team in there right now, once they arrive on the ship, the NASA medical team already has all the vitals, already knows what their symptoms may be. Are they feeling any nausea? Do they feel any pain in their legs or arms? Because again, you're getting back to 1G, which doesn't feel a lot for us, but for them, they've been 0G for 10 days. It does take a toll on your body. So the NASA team will already have everything ready to go on the ship once they get those astronauts out. And in fact, you see some U.S. Navy divers. What they are doing is adding that protective barrier around the Orion capsule. This is actually for future help of the John P. Murtha, because the John P. Murtha ship will actually ultimately bring the Orion capsule back in. So that is also going to help to drag it back into the ship down the line. It's also part of what we call the front porch. So they'll actually be able to step out onto that floating capsule, and that's where the helicopters will pick up the 4 astronauts before the John P. Murtha then turns towards the Orion Integrity capsule there and pulls it in.
Certainly have come a long way from the early days of the space program where the astronauts would splash down and then they'd get wet.
Yes, yes.
And they already had been up on their mission as dry as can be, maybe sweating a little bit, getting out there and getting wet and potentially cold waters. Welcome back to Earth. A hot shower.
The Pacific is certainly cold compared to the Atlantic.
Yeah, that is the fact. And I know you know that.
Yes.
Because of what you do, your profession. So, again, what we're waiting on now is the crew to be taken out of the capsule. And as Zach said, they'll be led to the ship and get checked out medically and go from there.
And one thing I just want to say, because you mentioned my profession, meteorologist by trade, space nerd by choice. As a meteorologist and someone that loves to do space coverage here at Spectrum News, it brings a lot of joy to my heart personally, and I know a lot of meteorologists around the country have been saying the same sentiment, that the country feels reinvigorated again in space, in science, and it is great to see this growth of conversation about science and technology and the public discourse that is happening in this country. And I feel like it happened because of this Artemis mission. You saw a lot of people on social media paying attention to what is going on. I've seen a lot of people tweeting NASA saying, what am I going to do every day from this point forward? I've been checking your feeds every single day. NASA responding back saying, just stay tuned. We've got even more coverage coming up in the next several years. So it warms my heart to see that we are finally hitting a point in this country where we are able to talk about science and really bring everybody together. That's an exciting feat.
I talked during our coverage over the last 10 days about this mission being the appetizer.
Yeah.
And I do believe that dinner and the buffet will be served very soon when we land on the moon. And you're right, I'm getting it as well. The zest for space. I was seeing even on social media like people are just, this is like watching the Big Brother overnight feeds or something like that. You want to see everything. You're getting to witness history, the entire planet. If you have access to it, you're able to see and witness history together, and that's a bond too. That brings people together, and I do believe that's what this mission has done, and the future missions will as well.
Yeah.
Because last time we landed on the moon was in 1972, and so that's been a long time, long overdue. A lot of people ask me, they may ask you this too, why have we not been to the moon in 54 years. Well, NASA, as we've said, decided to move toward building a space station in low Earth orbit. They built the space shuttle to be able to cargo and ferry all types of equipment and eventually people up to the International Space Station and create that as the jumping point. And you had mentioned also when Jarek Eisenman took over, he decided that we were going to go and land on the moon. Let's not go to a space station that's around the moon. Let's just go down. Let's just go. And I think that has really streamlined things extremely. So that is something that is as well. But now we went back. Went back. We are back. We're going to go back, and we're going to stay, and that's going to be in the next coming years, which really is an exciting time to be alive and to get to this zest and this excitement for space and space travel.
Home planet.
And now all eyes on Artemis III. Hopefully, we're learning of the astronaut class for that mission coming up very, very soon. You have to imagine that's coming up very shortly as well. So I don't think we're going to be done talking about Artemis in the next month. I think we're going to be hearing a lot of new interesting stuff coming out from NASA with regards to next year's Artemis mission in just a few short weeks.
We had a very special moment that happened about an hour and 20 minutes or so ago. That was the splashdown of the Artemis II crew. If you weren't able to see it for yourself first time, now's your chance. Take a look.
Houston Integrity splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
And the recovery team continues to.
I believe we're getting very close to getting Christina Cook out.
Okay.
I believe what you're seeing there, that new big flotation device that has been kind of added on, that's exactly where the helicopter will eventually pick them up. So they're going to extract them, put them there, hook them into their harness, and then hoist them up into one of two helicopters. So we've got two helicopters circling. Christina will go in the first helicopter, Jeremy in the second. Victor will then go back into helicopter one as that circles back around, and then finally Reed Wiseman in helicopter two. And once all four astronauts are aboard both of those helicopters, then they will return to the John P. Murtha U.S. Navy ship, which is stationed about roughly a mile away. Once they're on the ship and the U.S. Navy divers have secured it fully, then the John P. Murtha will actually start turning towards the Orion capsule, because the next step will be actually getting the capsule aboard the ship as well. You mentioned earlier, Greg, that this ship is kind of like a dock of its own. The back of the ship is actually completely open to the water. So it opens up, the ocean water floods into the ship, and that's actually what they're going to do. They're going to drag the Orion capsule into that ship and then close it back up. They'll drain the water out, and they'll essentially have the capsule aboard the ship.
Let's go ahead and listen in.
Air Rescue Vest, ARV.
Is about to
and so this is the harness that each crew member will get into in order to be hoisted into the helicopters. Again, those helicopters hovering just about 40 feet above the front porch when they're ready to pick up each crew member.
This is Mission Control Houston. Behind me, a fairly raucous scene as hundreds of flight controllers have poured into the flight control room here. This is reminiscent of the scene after the final shuttle mission of STS-135, although that was the end of a program. This is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for Integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says "Welcome Home Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth." So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha.
We are looking at the team that will be bringing the astronauts outside of their Integrity capsule. They landed at 8:07 p.m. Eastern and have been in the capsule since. Those recovery boats, Zach, full of the team and the divers that will help. And
once
as we
again,
said,
here in Mission Control,
will come
this
out
view
first.
of the Artemis
Look at that view.
Oh, my goodness.
And you just heard Mission Control Houston talking about this. A lot of those people that you see, yes, working the Artemis mission, now done with science, now done with control. But you also have a lot of people that worked on the final space shuttle mission coming in to witness the start of the Artemis mission program. Crew remains in excellent shape. Reed has radioed Houston multiple times, informing them that the crew is in good shape. The U.S. Navy divers now working on extracting them from the Orion capsule ship. But Orion, Integrity, what the crew ended up naming their capsule, back home on Earth, Greg.
All smiles in the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center Mission Control.
Had an opportunity to talk to the head of Flight Dynamics, Jeff Birch,
these
a moment or two ago.
deep space missions.
Of Integrity coming through the Earth's
It's incredible to see those smiling faces after all of the long hours and the hard work.
And we do have a reporter there at the Johnson Space Center. We are going to work on trying to get them back with us so we can kind of see what the latest gauge is on the energy meter there in Johnson. We can only imagine that it's probably gone up since the last time we talked to him.
The champagne's probably flowing. No, not yet. They're not done. It will be, though. It's definitely something to celebrate.
And so what you are looking at right now, a live view of the Orion space capsule, which traveled, what was the exact total, Greg? You've had it.
You want the exact?
I want the exact
I'm going to get
total.
you exact. 694,481 miles.
That is incredible. Farther than any human has ever gone. 4 humans venturing into deep space for all of humanity, as they said. And we now have officially Christina Cook out. You can see her right there, standing on the front porch, surrounded by a team of U.S. Navy divers. She is being attached to a hoist, or a harness, I should say, and then a hoist will attach to the harness, hoisting her up to a U.S. Navy helicopter hovering right above the surface of the water, set to bring her in. But Christina Cook, now officially out. It looks like we have a second astronaut coming out. That should be
Jeremy.
Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency.
See how tall that guy is? That's Jeremy.
You do not want to mess with him. We saw him walk out of the Neil Armstrong building here, the astronaut checkout room before boarding the Artemis II rocket in the Orion space capsule just 10 days ago, and he was unmistakable compared to the rest of the crew with his height.
Victor's a big guy, no doubt about it, but he did kind of tower over him in a way.
Two crew members out,
those
two to
two,
go.
the first coming off.
So you can see that Christina Cook is sitting on the right-hand side of that raft known as the front porch, and the U.S. Navy divers surrounding Jeremy Hansen. And again, if you're watching this, you're wondering why they're surrounding them so much as they lower him to the ground. It's because of the 1G that we all are experiencing as we speak. Remember, Earth's gravity rated as 1G. They've been in 0Gs, and that simple change in 1G actually is a substantial change to your body, especially when you've been up there for 10 days, even longer at the ISS. So we take necessary precautions in making sure they are safe as they adapt back to Earth's gravity.
So Christina and Jeremy, there was a helicopter just flew by, both of them sitting down. Oh,
and there's Victor Glover, pilot.
Welcome home, pilot Victor Glover. Some applause in mission control.
And again, you can see the tiny steps he's taking. In addition to adjusting to Earth's gravity, you're dealing with swells today in the Pacific of around 4 to 5 feet. They are below the 6-foot minimum threshold. We cannot land the spacecraft in more than 6 feet swells. So
94,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown.
There he goes.
Victor's having a seat.
Plots on down, which means the final crew member, Reed Wiseman, the commander of this mission, about to step out of integrity.
Probably a little bittersweet for them.
I don't think they wanted to come home.
I think they were very happy up there.
it was a torn kind of thing. They want to see their families, their friends, who they relate to on a day-to-day basis down here. But, you know, you could tell the tight-knitness of this group that has been training for quite literally 3 years together over there in Texas, coming to KSC multiple times for training.
All 4 crew members now out of integrity.
Welcome back to Earth.
They're quite the quartet.
And again, you mentioned it earlier. I don't think we've heard the end of any of those 4 crew members. No. I think we will be seeing them on a future moon landing mission, whether that be Artemis 4 or Artemis 5. But the historical nature of this mission and the experience they're going to bring, I'm almost certain that NASA is going to be looking at them for a future moon landing mission.
That is beyond
Once again, all 4 crew
beyond a
members
doubt.
now on the front porch. And the procedure to begin hoisting them up to these 2 Navy helicopters hovering overhead will begin shortly.
Now,
you got to wonder what that conversation is like right there. What are they talking about?
You've got to wonder if the first conversation is, okay, who's getting the first shower when we get back to Johnson? They had a toilet aboard. They did not have a shower aboard. And very similar to the ISS, you can wipe yourself down with a washcloth. You wet the washcloth with some of the water and wipe your body down. But you got to imagine they might be talking about who gets first dibs on the shower.
That could be a conversation. Also, I'm sure they're enjoying that fresh air, that incredible fresh air out there on the ocean. Seeing Earth, coming back to Earth, but also smelling what it's like. Those senses now are coming back to them heightened. They were contained in their spacecraft for almost 10 days, and now they're on the open ocean.
And a big moment for Victor, too, because this time he got to pilot the spacecraft not once but twice. 2 times this mission, he manually controlled the Orion spacecraft known as Integrity. One of those was just hours after launch. About 3 hours on launch day 10 days ago, Victor was able to take control and show that they could maneuver the spacecraft. The other time was about a day after they left the sphere of influence.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
And so a very special plane, if you will, or craft for Victor to be a test pilot of. Victor's heritage comes from being a test pilot in the U.S. military. So he's piloted several special test aircraft. You have to imagine that this one will always hold a special place in his heart.
I think this takes the cake.
Yeah.
Nothing against those other aircraft, but this is a spacecraft, and that's what sets it apart. Well, all 4 astronauts safely on the front porch, waiting for that helicopter ride to the recovery ship.
So the Navy team's right there, kind of running through the next steps. What they will do is begin to get the harnesses on each of them. And again, we have 2 helicopters, so 2 astronauts per helicopter. The first helicopter coming around picking up Christina Cook. The second one will then pick up Jeremy Hansen at the Canadian Space Agency. Then the first helicopter will come back around, pick up Victor Glover. And then finally the second one will come back for the commander, Reed Wiseman. And then both of them will head back to the ship, the John P. Murtha. Again, about a mile away from the Orion spacecraft right now, given some distance so the crews can work as needed. And then once they're given the okay, the John P. Murtha will actually start moving full speed ahead towards the spacecraft to then recover that. Again, a piece of NASA history right there.
You know, this mission, like all, really centered around mission control, and that's in Houston, Texas. And we've been seeing scenes from inside Mission Control, all of those, the flight team just incredibly excited, all smiles, just very, very pleased at what's going on.
Yeah.
And we do know our colleague Brian Bose is at Mission Control in Houston, Texas. Brian, set the scene for us there. We're seeing all smiles. I'm sure you're seeing even more.
Yeah, I think the smiles are really starting to come out now that we see them getting out of the Orion. We know that the press conference is going to happen. We know the helicopter trips are going to happen for all 4 astronauts, and eventually they'll hop on a big old plane and find their way back here to Houston to the pace and the length of this departure from the Orion after splashdown had people a little disconcerting. There was some rustling, and some people were calling it a night because these folks won't be back here into this building for quite some time. So you thought maybe a dinner break. You thought you might call it a night depending upon what affiliate you were with, but that's not the case. This has taken a while, and there was some concern there. And as I said, there's a little PTSD from what's happened with spaceships in the past. 1985 Challenger. I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's something that people remember, and there was control coming out of this Mission Control. This is where it originated from. This is where all manned spacecraft missions originate from. So there was some concern, and when you have a situation like this where they go around the moon, they come back, there is going to be concern, and there's going to be some nail biting at times. So that's what it's like, but right now all smiles.
And we've got to ask, have you heard a lot of cheers out over there at Johnson? Because we were hearing plenty of them here on the actual NASA feed. So I'm just curious about that. But yeah, I can only imagine how Johnson's feeling.
Oh gosh, it's vibing. It is vibing there, no doubt about it. So there we have it. All 4 crew members on board. Waiting for the helicopter, the front porch, welcoming them, waiting for the helicopters to come and scoop them up and get them to the recovery ship so they can be looked at by doctors. Curtis, it's been an exciting time. It continues to be exciting. So for now, we're going to send it back to you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. An exciting time indeed. As you heard there, the crew are now on board the USS John P. Murtha while they go through their medical checks. Recovery crews are bringing on board the Orion capsule. That'll happen. And next up, a press conference from NASA leadership. That's going to be held around 10:30 p.m. Eastern at the Johnson Space Center. And of course, in Houston, the Artemis II crew will not be in attendance. And of course, we're going to bring you that news conference live here on Spectrum News 13. Now, again, the Orion spacecraft still in the water there, but it will make its way on board the John P. Murtha there. That's where it will be, and the crew will be taken by helicopter, crew members, and evaluated and eventually reunited at some point with their family. What a sight to behold in the Pacific Ocean here. Live on Spectrum News. Be sure to tune in right here on Spectrum News for the latest.
Destination Space presented by Florida's Space Coast.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 7:30 on Spectrum Bay News 9. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series,
would like the first part?
Sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals, and even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere. Get it all with Spectrum TV.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our Florida community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matters in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on channels 47 and 920. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Brandon Green. This is your Sports Minute brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. It's been a rough week for the Lightning, losing 3 straight games, and 2 came against Atlantic Division foes, the Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens. The Lightning fell to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and head coach John Cooper says getting home ice advantage is at the forefront of the team's mind.
I don't know. I've been in 4 or 5 Game 7s, and I think it's 4 I can remember right now is split right down the middle, 2 and 2 if the home teams won in the Game 7 game. So, I don't know if that's always indicative of how a playoff series goes, but naturally, if it does come down to 7, you'd like to have the last one at home.
The Tampa Bay Lightning nominated Ryan McDonough for the King Clancy Memorial Trophy. Each of the 32 teams in the NHL nominates one player, and if McDonough wins, he would get $25,000 donation to the charities of his choice. And for all the latest local sports news, make sure to watch Spectrum Sports 360 every night at 10:30.
The second largest air show in the country is back for another year and is expected to drive more revenue into Central Florida's economy. In Lakeland, local businesses are preparing for the annual Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. Spectrum News reporter Alexis Jones spoke with one owner who's looking forward to a big increase in visitors.
What's fun without some candy? Paul Loicano says that's exactly why he opened Pal's Candy Shop in downtown Lakeland.
I wanted to build a place that will bring joy to people, and I think this place does.
Loicano started bringing nostalgic sweet treats to the area a little over a year ago. Last April, he opened his doors just days before the kickoff of the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. So this year, he says, he's even more prepared to welcome new customers.
Because with an inflow of people, I just want to have the candies that people like.
Loicano says he's expecting much more foot traffic this time around, mostly due to a new partnership between Citrus Connection and Sun and Fun. Shuttle services will run every 25 minutes during the 6-day event, bringing visitors to popular spots across Lakeland, including downtown. Eric Crump, vice president of the Aerospace Center for Excellence, says the air show generates more than $60 million for Central Florida. Last year's event attracted about 210,000 visitors, the best turnout on record. Crump says ticket sales are already 25% higher, which is expected to boost the local economy even more.
And it's not just Lakeland, because you're talking about hotel rooms being sold out all the way to Brandon to the west and Kissimmee to the east, restaurants, servers, grocery stores, all of that.
As for Loicano, he hopes the crowds come with a sweet tooth or room for a little more joy.
Everybody's a kid in the candy store at Pal's.
In Lakeland, Alexis Jones, Spectrum News.
And the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo starts Monday, and it'll run through next Sunday. For information on Citrus Connection shuttle hours and drop-off locations, you can go to our website, baynews9.com. The government's new food pyramid could cost you at the grocery store. The U.S. Department of Agriculture updated its dietary guidelines at the beginning of the year, and researchers found that following those guidelines would add more than $1,000 to your grocery bill every year. They claim that's a 32% jump. The USDA basically flipped previous recommendations. It now suggests that proteins, dairy, healthy fats, and fruits and vegetables be the largest portion of your diet. In case you missed it, here's what you need to know this evening. The Artemis II mission is officially a success. The Orion capsule splashed down on the Pacific Ocean just after 8 o'clock. The spacecraft was exposed to 5,000-degree heat as it hit the Earth's atmosphere at about 25,000 miles an hour. Parachutes were then deployed to slow Orion down before making impact with the water at about 20 miles an hour.
Well, a beautiful weekend ahead, but it is going to be warm in the afternoons. But I think you're going to like the morning temperatures, and you're also going to like the fact that the winds are finally coming down so that we can get back out there on the boats. A good Friday evening to you. I'm meteorologist Brian McClure. It's going to be breezy for tomorrow morning with a wind from the east at about 15 knots. That's not as strong as it has been. Then it'll come down to about 10 knots from the north in the afternoon. That's what is going to try and be a sea breeze, but it won't be able to push all the way in. So that's why it's more of a north breeze in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 4 feet. We'll go with a moderate chop on the Bayinland water. So better boating conditions than what we've had, but still not totally calm. So if you're one of those boaters that likes it totally calm, it's not going to be that this weekend. There will be a nice breeze each day. It'll actually take an edge off the heat. It'll feel comfortable, especially in the shade. We will have cooler nights. Yeah, our temperatures will actually be cooler for overnight lows, but the afternoons will be warmer. I know that seems strange, right? Like, wait, how can they head in different directions? Because the air mass is drying out. We'll show that to you in just a bit. Long stretch of dry weather. Well, I don't see any significant rains coming towards us anytime soon. That's not a positive. Yeah, sure, it's great for outdoor activities, but it's really bad since we're in the drought. So here's your east to northeasterly wind. A couple days ago, I was talking about how the yellow shading indicated stronger winds. You can see all the way up there around 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. And that's what we had this week. But now it's coming back down. So even though the wind direction will still stay from the east-northeast, it's coming with drier air, and the winds are coming back down to a reasonable level. So like I said, if you're going out on the boating waters, it will not be perfectly calm, but they won't be nearly as strong of winds as what we have been seeing. And they'll tend to kind of oscillate. They'll go up in the mornings, they'll come down during the day, and then they'll go back up again in the evenings. That's generally the way the winds will be. We'll have a few passing clouds out there for tomorrow, but overall it's going to be a mostly sunny sky. I don't expect any rain chance at all this weekend. It's just way too dry of an atmosphere. So what's happening is drier air now is coming down from the northeastern U.S. This happens when a high pressure gets stuck in the mid-Atlantic and northeast. That drier air comes down into our area. It cuts off our rain chance, but it also Dry air will allow for really cool overnight lows, but really warm afternoon highs. That's what dry air does. It can heat up rapidly, it can cool down rapidly. So 50s to low 60s in the morning, but mid 80s in the afternoon. And that's going to be the pattern all the way into next week. So it's going to be really, really comfortable at night and morning, but it's going to be really warm in the afternoon. By the end of next week, we might even get all the way up around 90 degrees, even though it's a totally dry atmosphere. There's your pollen forecast for the next 3 days, brought to you by Famous State Appliance and Bedding Centers, between 9.6 and 9.9.
Make Spectrum Bay News 9 your morning news part of your morning routine and get the news and information that matter most to you.
We're dedicated to impactful reporting from across the communities we call home.
We'll get you caught up with the latest updates and in-depth coverage of the day's developing stories.
Plus your local forecast and traffic reports to help you plan your day ahead.
Join us for Spectrum Bay News 9, your morning news, weekdays starting at 5 a.m.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
I wish to present the importance of hard work and determination, of not backing down when things are tough, of being there to help a friend, because it is only when we work together that we achieve true greatness.
With a 100% U.S.-based workforce and a 100% U.S.-built fiber broadband network, Spectrum is America's connectivity company.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices, streaming live 24/7. Plus, on-demand weather forecasts to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
Thanks for watching Spectrum Bay News 9 this evening. In your health news, Tampa General Hospital is making it easier to receive a kidney. When somebody's in need of one, they often turn to Family First for a match because of the wait time for a donor can be as long as 5 years. But what if it didn't matter if your family actually matched? That's the basis of something called the Paired Kidney Exchange Program. Spectrum Bay News 9's Andy Cole talked with a family forever changed by this unique program.
It's been a struggle almost all her life. At just 2.5, Ailey Penningroth was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
When I got out of college, I sort of started having a little more fun and maybe not being as careful about my blood sugars, and that's when my kidney really started to suffer.
Ailey received her first kidney transplant in 2008. She also received a pancreas, but those donated organs, Ailey says, only lasted a few years. Right before the pandemic, Ailey and her doctors at Tampa General came to the conclusion she needed another transplant.
So as far as I was concerned, I thought I was just going on another list, but I burned the sugar.
Only a little. Only a little.
But that's not what happened for Ailey. Her brother, UC Berkeley professor Dylan Penningroth, began working with TGH to see if he was a match. He wasn't, but that didn't matter for the Paired Kidney Exchange Program. Dylan donated his kidney to a needy recipient, and in turn, another compatible donor gave theirs to Ailey. It all happened the same day.
To me, it seemed like kind of a no-brainer that if it was possible for me to do it, I was going to do it. The reason it's a no-brainer is because I love you, and I want you to be bugging me and bothering me for as long as we've got together.
Tampa General says as many as 2,000 additional transplants per year could happen using the partner kidney exchange, as an estimated 45% of donor-recipient pairs could find a perfect match by participating in the nationwide program. It took Dylan about 3 months to fully recover. Ailey started feeling better immediately. Now, 5 years later, Ailey says Dylan's kidney has given her a new life.
I never thought I would make it to age 50. I really didn't. Never, ever. And so this is just, it's incredible for me. I feel like every single day is a gift.
If we can share this story with other people, they might be inspired. And you know, I think people deep down fundamentally are good. And often it's just a matter of giving them a chance to show that side of themselves.
It's a good deed. Ailey says she'll never let him live down. In Tampa, I'm Andy Cole, Spectrum News.
Time now for a look at what's happening in our community. Brought to you by WeatherTight Windows. The weather in Tampa Bay can be as dynamic as the people who call it home. It's why at Spectrum Bay News 9, we're committed to providing you with an accurate forecast so you can plan for the day ahead. So if it's just another beautiful day or if there's storms rolling in, you can count on us to be there for you.
Watch the Spectrum Bay News 9 weather experts with your Weather on the 9's forecast on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app, exclusively on Spectrum.
This is a very special place. It is a place where we like to think we make memories.
We have the capacity for nearly 20,000 people in the arena.
Working at a building like this, we have access to so many resources. It's about utilizing the tools that we have to be able to create those memories for our partners, for our fans, and for anybody who steps into this building. At the end of the game, they're going to leave here feeling like they enjoyed the experience, enjoyed the game, and that's what we're here for.
A venue like this has a lot of moving parts, but at its heart, it has its technology backbone.
Spectrum powers scoreboards, ticketing, point of sales. They also provide a highly secure network that takes care of fan security of the Wi-Fi access, and any data that our fans are sharing while in the arena.
Our fans have an expectation that technology is part of their experience, and Spectrum helps us do that.
Your evening news, presented by Lexus. Experience amazing.
Good evening, I'm Rick Elmhorst, and this is your Spectrum News in 90. The Artemis II crew has splashed back down to Earth. This wraps up a 10-day mission which included orbiting the moon. In that time, they gathered data for future lunar missions and set the record for the furthest that human beings have ever been from Earth. The crew splashed down into the Pacific Ocean after plummeting through the atmosphere at nearly 25,000 miles per hour. Tampa City Council will soon get to hear from residents on what they think of the Rays' new plan to pay for a new stadium. The council is hosting a public input workshop on May 5th. The Rays released their framework to fund the proposed $2.3 billion ballpark. The Rays said that they would cover $1.2 billion, but they want $750 million from Hillsborough County and $251 million from the city. The team is also pushing for all deals to be signed by June 1st to meet their 2029 opening goal. There are just a few days left to go and check out some of the sculptures artists from around the world are able to make out of sand. The Clearwater Pier 60 Sugar Sand Festival ends on Sunday. The festival held its annual beach cleanup effort today. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
Well, a really comfortable start to your day with temperatures all the way down in the 50s to low 60s. So actually, we're going to have cooler morning lows this weekend, even though the afternoon highs will be warmer. Nice breeze coming through the area, so very comfortable start to the day. And then later in the day, we'll warm up. We'll get all the way up into the mid-80s. We will still have that easterly breeze, but it won't be as strong as it has been, and no rain showers.
Hopefully soon be getting back with everyone after those medical checks. We want to take time now and welcome everyone across the Spectrum Network. Joining us, our special coverage continues now as Artemis II crew splashing down off the coast here, off the coast of the Pacific. Let's go out to Greg Pallone and Zach Covey at the Kennedy Space Center now. They are standing by with the very latest. Hey, guys.
Hey, Curtis. Absolutely historic. This launch and landing, really this mission, this entire mission, the 10-day mission around the moon for the Artemis II crew, starting with the launch right here on April 1st at Kennedy Space Center, culminating in a Pacific Ocean splashdown earlier this evening. The crew is safe and they're being taken care of, and they're getting used to gravity again.
They are. They just made it back to the John P. Murphy ship. We are waiting their extraction from those helicopters, the U.S. Navy helicopters that hoisted them out of what looked like some really rough seas at times when the helicopters were right over land. I do want to get to something new. President Donald Trump just posting on Truth Social moments ago saying, quote, "Congratulations to the great and very talented crew of Artemis II. The entire trip was spectacular. The landing was perfect. And as President of the United States, I could not be more proud. I look forward to seeing you all at the White House soon. We'll be doing it again. And then, next step, Mars," unquote. So that posted just moments ago on Truth Social. We're getting reports that Trump actually watched it while he was eating dinner tonight.
That's fantastic. And he's the one who got the Artemis program going in his first term. Yep. So this is near and dear to him, creating the Space Force as well. So the crew, they are on board the recovery ship. This after waiting about an hour or so for the recovery team to get out there and assess. And then one by one, each of the crew members, starting with Christina Cook, then to Jeremy Hansen, then on to Victor Glover, then the commander, Reed Wiseman, all being taken out of the capsule and then helicoptered over to the ship. And that, Zach, is where the doctors will be looking at them and checking on them.
Yeah, and it's going to be the first two helicopters. You are taking a live look right now, and you can see zoomed in Victor Glover there on the left-hand side. Christina Cook would be on the right-hand side, being blocked by one of those U.S. Navy specialists. And in the other helicopter would be Reed Wiseman and Canadian space astronaut Jeremy Hansen. You could see U.S. Navy photographers taking photos of them as well. And a reminder, you may be saying, why are they not standing up? They're still getting used to gravity. We'll likely see them get loaded into maybe some sort of a wheelchair or something as they continue to reaffirm themselves here on Mother Earth.
One of the affirming things on this mission was when they entered the Earth's atmosphere to return. The heat shield on the Orion spacecraft held just fine, protected the spacecraft and also the crew inside. That was a bit of a concern for NASA, considering on Artemis 1 back in 2022 there was some damage done to the heat shield. So that is a positive right there. The main thing, though, Zach, right now is we have a healthy crew and they are back on Earth after a historic mission, one that saw so many firsts, one that saw so many milestones, one that saw the far side of the moon for the first time with human eyes. All the images that they have been that they sent back and all that data collected is going to really assure NASA scientists that we'll be able to get back to the moon and stay.
And that could happen as early as 2028 with the first structures going up towards the eventual lunar moon base that is part of the President's space plan. Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, making it very well known that he is accelerating the timeline for these turnarounds on the Artemis mission. Artemis III set to launch in the middle part of next year. That will be a low Earth orbit mission, nothing related to the moon, but it's actually testing the lunar landers. And then in 2028, Jared, a very big plan, but wants to do 2 lunar landings, one in early and the other in the middle to latter part of 2028. So we could be seeing astronauts go back to the moon twice that year. You may notice on those live footage that we're seeing right now, they are rolling out some of those chairs, as I suspected.
Yeah. They're just trying to feel. They probably feel 1 million pounds right now. So they're lead-footed after being in 0G for 10 days and floating around the moon in their spacecraft. So they'll be taken care of. They'll get some med checks and continue that. Really hope to hear from the crew as soon as we can about the experiences that they had on this, and also some of the things that we may not know happened on that too. That will be interesting to note as well. But again, as we've talked about, Artemis II is setting the table for these future lunar landing missions, kind of like the appetizer, then the buffets coming up later, or the steak dinner, if you will. So making me hungry. So that is exactly what NASA's mission is right now, to get back to the moon, build a base, then go on to Mars and explore deep space. So if there's any indication that that plan is in motion, is going to work, this mission certainly gave some proof positive to that.
And right now, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman on the deck. He just went to Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen and Commander Reed Wiseman. He's now over visiting Victor Glover, Christina Cook there on the right helicopter. He's in the blue that you can see walked over, so greeting them as well. I do want to say, Greg, NASA holding a post-splashdown news conference that is set for 10:30, so that's coming up in just about 22 minutes now. That will be at the agency's Johnson Space Center, where really, ever since, about 18, 20 minutes after launch, it's been Johnson's mission.
Yeah, they took over after they cleared the tower, essentially, as they say. So Mission Control has been in charge. They had flawlessly executed this. They have executed this mission flawlessly, communicating with the crew doing everything along the timeline, all their responsibilities, their duties, everything that they were trying to do. So, again, just a great mission. We look forward to the future Artemis missions, but as far as we can tell, Artemis II, a success, the crew back safe. For Zach Covey, I'm Greg Pallone, Spectrum News.
Destination Space, presented by Florida's Space Coast.
Back to Brian on the Weather Center. Brian, we had an awesome Friday for the weather, and I think on the weekend, people should make a specific plan to get outside because it's going to be beautiful. Before long, they're going to be complaining about how hot it is, and they don't want to go out. It's a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where the weather's going to be so beautiful for such a long stretch. You're right. There's going to be two complaints, too warm and too dry.
Right.
That's what's going to end up happening this week. And speaking of looking back at this past week, if you were watching us at the beginning of the week, we said the heaviest of rains would be on the eastern side of the state. We'd get rain, but the amounts wouldn't be that great. Sure enough, here's your rainfall map from this week. Pretty pitiful along our coastal areas. Now, you got lucky in Polk County. You had decent amounts in eastern Manatee, Hardee, DeSoto, and eastern Citrus. But our coastal areas got very little, and look at the eastern side of the state. Huge amounts of rain, 5 to 7 inches. So that's what we were afraid of. Now, it wasn't a horrible pattern. Hey, we at least got some rain, and the showers and the winds did help to keep our temperatures down all week long. But yes, we are now headed into a warmer, drier pattern through this weekend into next week. Great for outdoor activities, but not great for our drought situation, and not great if you want it to be cooler. Michelle in Ruskin, beautiful sunset view. We just had a few passing clouds. Definitely no showers out there on Friday, and you're not going to have any showers for Saturday or Sunday either. High pressure is now sending us dry air. It is not sending us any moisture. So even though the winds are still coming from the east-northeast, the problem is the drier air is wrapped around that high, and it's moving it down into our area. So the dew points are actually dropping. So this air mass is going drier and drier the next couple of days. So what ends up happening is the dew points have dropped off, and they're going to stay pretty low all the way into next week. Now, this is why it feels so comfortable this time of year compared to summertime. Our dew points are lower, humidity levels are lower, but at the same time, that's also what keeps our atmosphere dry, and then we don't get showers. So they both kind of go hand in hand. You're going to have some passing clouds. You're not going to get any showers for your Saturday. It's going to be totally dry. and it's going to be dry again into Sunday. Mostly clear for your morning. Walking out the door to really comfortable temperatures, 50s and 60s. That is one thing about dry air. It can cool down at night and make it really comfortable. But then during the afternoon, we bounce right back up into the mid-80s. I'll be back to talk about your 7-day and every boating forecast coming up in less than 10 minutes.
From D.C. to Tallahassee, elected officials are making decisions that affect our daily lives right here at home.
These decisions happen every day, which is why Political Connections breaks down the biggest stories every weeknight,
providing you real context and balanced analysis of the day's political news,
giving you a better understanding of how the issues impact you and your local community. Join us for Political Connections weeknights at 7 and 11:30 on Spectrum Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
With Spectrum, I never miss.
I feel incredible.
Never miss a homer. Because I don't have the right app. Never miss one of these. Because I can't find my game. Spectrum makes it easy. All your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. I never miss.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
The previous portion of Spectrum Bay News 9 is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Here are your winning lottery numbers.
The Trump administration is preparing for peace talks in Pakistan as the war in Iran hits the 6-week mark. President Donald Trump remains frustrated that Iran has not fully reopened the Strait of Hormuz, as new economic data shows inflation is starting to grow, in part because of rising oil prices since the war began. Our national political reporter Taylor Popolars has the latest now from the White House.
On day 3 of the U.S. and Israel ceasefire with Iran, Vice President J.D. Vance headed to Pakistan, where peace talks will take place this weekend.
As the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive.
Vance said President Donald Trump gave him clear guidelines. Vance will lead the talks alongside Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. From the White House Friday, the president posted that the Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards, other than a short-term extortion of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. New economic data out Friday showed the war's impact. Prices rose at an annual rate of 3.3% in March, up from 2.4% in February, the biggest jump in almost 4 years. Economists blame the war, saying a disruption in the oil supply sent energy prices higher. The president has argued such disruptions will be temporary and worthwhile in the long run. As Iran slow walks reopening the Strait of Hormuz to oil tankers, the Speaker of Iran's parliament posted this Friday. 2 of the measures mutually agreed upon between the parties have yet to be implemented: a ceasefire in Lebanon and the release of Iran's blocked assets prior to the commencement of negotiations. He said these 2 matters must be fulfilled before negotiations begin. Israel and the U.S. have claimed that Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire, and Israel has continued to bomb there, targeting Hezbollah, the militia group backed by Iran. But Israel and Lebanon are slated to have their own peace talks next week. Reporting at the White House, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
President Donald Trump is reportedly receiving a major donation of foreign steel for his White House ballroom project. That comes as he's been pushing policy supporting American steelmakers. The project is expected to cost $400 million. Now, according to the New York Times, a Luxembourg-based firm could supply steel worth tens of millions of dollars for the project. The White House hasn't confirmed the specifics, citing the project's specific nature, but a spokesperson says the renovation is aimed at improving the White House at no cost to taxpayers. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is suggesting she might be eyeing another presidential run. The former presidential candidate hasn't committed to a 2028 campaign, but today at the National Action Network's 2026 convention, Al Sharpton asked her if she'll run again. Her answer was not exactly a denial.
Listen, I might. I'm thinking about it.
And while speaking to the crowd, Harris outlined what she thinks needs to be done in the country. The crowd was behind her at some points chanting, "Run again." Harris became the Democratic nominee after former President Joe Biden bowed out of the contest. To get to it again, she'd have to win her party's primary, which will likely be very competitive. An event where you can try this and other delicious bites from around the Bay Area. We've got the details coming up next in this week's On the Town story.
Hey, good Friday to you. Meteorologist Brian McClure made it to the weekend. We are going to see a dry, sunny weekend ahead, a classic April weekend. So if you want to go to the beach, want to get out on the boat, want to do any outdoor activities, you're going to have really nice conditions. There'll still be a noticeable east breeze, but not nearly as strong as it was all week long. So that should allow for even some decent boating conditions, which we'll talk about in just a bit. We are going to see warmer highs. Moving forward, our highs are going to be back up around the mid-80s almost every day, but the overnight lows will actually be cooler. We'll explain that in just a bit. Unfortunately, we're going to be dry for a while. I say that unfortunately, I use that term because even though, yes, we'll have a lot of nice weather, we really need rain since we're in drought conditions, and we are not going to get any time soon. Notice 0% chance of rain, not only this weekend, but all the way into early next week. So we will have an easterly breeze that will continue. A few patchy clouds will come across the state from time to time, but we are not going to see any rain chance. We are not going to see any, really any moisture at all coming at us, and I think we'll go to a almost purely sunny skies Sunday into Monday because the air mass will be so dry. The east wind that was with us the past couple of days, and actually past, 4 days, it was pretty strong. But it's dying down. Remember a couple days ago I showed you the yellow color that was on the map. Now it's pretty isolated out in the Atlantic and way to our south. That has come way down. So the winds are coming down, but they're still from the east-northeast. So what you'll notice is it will tend to oscillate up at night and morning and then back down during the day. And generally, instead of those 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts, it'll be more like 10 to 15. So it won't be too strong. Look at these cooler overnight lows, 50s to low 60s. The reason for this is because drier air makes for temperatures that can go way up in the afternoon, but way down at night. So your highs are going to jump up into the mid 80s. Then we're going to go right back down to the 50s to low 60s again for Sunday morning. That's going to be the case almost every single day all the way into next week, where we have really warm afternoons, but we have really comfortable mornings. So get out in the mornings if you want the cooler air. There's your east wind, a bit breezy in the morning, 15 knots, but then coming down to 10 knots in the afternoon from the north. 7-day forecast morning shows. There are those warm afternoons, and next week it gets even warmer with upper 80s, and by the end of the week, we might even touch 90 degrees.
At Your Evening News, bringing you the stories that matter to the Tampa Bay community is our privilege.
That means we have the responsibility to provide impactful reporting across our communities.
Every evening, we ensure that you have in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
Plus your Weather on the Nines forecast for the end of your day and to plan your tomorrow.
Join us for Your Evening News, weeknights starting at 5 on Spectrum Bay News 9.
Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
Has anyone seen my keys? Spectrum can't help you find your keys, but they can help you find your IndyCar race. With Spectrum TV, it's easy to find exactly what you want. We are racing! Watch every NTT IndyCar Series race on Fox and stream on Fox 1. All your races, all in one place. Spectrum and Fox Sports. It's a no-brainer.
This is so embarrassing.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Everybody needs food, but some people love exploring food as a hobby. We call them foodies. And this weekend is the Florida Foodies Fest. It's a two-day culinary festival in St. Pete. More than 100 vendors providing all kinds of different foods will be on hand. Our Jeff Van Sant went on the town to speak to one vendor who just 6 months ago started his own business selling crab cakes and mac and cheese.
All right, well, what we're making is my crab cake.
In the small kitchen of his food truck, Randall McDonald is living his dream.
See that good lump?
Making crab cakes and smoked Gouda, mac and cheese.
Food is for the soul at the end of the day.
It's even topped off with a secret sauce of his own making.
It's a lot. I call it law sauce. Like, good Lord, it's so good.
He runs the truck with the help of his fiancée, Shar Jackson. She's his muse.
He had great food, and he had great concepts, and so I just wanted to encourage him to do something for himself.
My fiance loves crab cakes, and she was like, make me a crab cake one day. And I made it for her, and she was like, oh my gosh, this is so good, and we got to sell it.
Char's the one that put the bug in Randall's ear to start his own business. It turned into Crab and Mac.
We started out as a tent, like a tent that we are in like right now, and it worked. We just started selling crab cakes, smoked Gouda mac, and fried rice, lemonade. That was it.
He doesn't want to spill the tea on what makes his crab cakes and mac so good, but he puts a lot of love and sweat into making the business thrive.
The reason why I love it is because it's a taste of home, and it's also I love macaroni and cheese, and he has the best macaroni and cheese.
McDonald's food truck will be one of many featured at the Florida Foodies Fest. Over 2 days, the culinary festival in St. Pete celebrates the wide variety of food you can find in the Bay Area. For McDonald, this is only the beginning. He's in a food truck now, but he hopes to establish a brick-and-mortar restaurant.
This is the best crab cake either I had in a long time or I've had in my life. And check my reviews.
He's confident folks will love what he is serving up. In St. Pete, Jeff Van Sant, Spectrum News.
The family-friendly festival takes place Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's located off Gandy Boulevard in St. Pete in the parking lot of the historic Derby Lane, just west of the Gandy Bridge.
Weather on the Nines, your local forecast every 10 minutes.
The line of showers moving quickly through the Tampa Bay area right now.
Bringing you accurate information from your trusted weather experts. Whenever, and wherever you need it.
As you plan your weekend, count on a chance of rain by Sunday.
Your community, your weather, every 10 minutes. Tampa Bay's calm in the storm. That's our commitment to you. Weather on the Nines on Bay News 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
This is a very special place. It is a place where we like to think we make memories.
Spectrum is a great partner for BSG in a variety of ways, but the first thing that comes to my mind is reliability.
Spectrum powers ticketing, point of sales, scoreboards. They provide the capacity for nearly 20,000 people in the arena.
Our fans have an expectation that technology is part of their experience, and Spectrum helps us do that.
Your evening news, presented by Lexus. Experience amazing.
Good evening, I'm Rick Elmhorst, and this is your Spectrum News in 90. Crews will soon begin work expanding the Selman Expressway. The $362 million project should see each direction expanded by one lane. The expansion will go for 4.5 miles from West Himes Avenue to Florida Avenue in downtown Tampa. According to the Tampa Bay Business Journal, construction is scheduled to begin next month. That project should be completed by 2030. Tampa International Airport is steaming ahead with its ticketing level overhaul. The airport will spend $285 million trying to streamline the ticketing process for passengers. The plan is to expand the ticketing floor into the valet area. That'll give people more space to line up at the counters. They'll also put in new ticket kiosks and add self-service bag drops. The Hillsborough County Aviation Authority just approved a design contract. Construction is scheduled to begin next year and wrap up in 2029. And Advent Health has broken ground on a freestanding emergency room in Newport Richey. The hospital chain picked the State Road 54 location to help improve healthcare access where options may be limited. That facility will be equipped with X-ray, CT, triage rooms, and 12 patient beds. That facility expected to open in 2027. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
Well, we're talking about mostly clear skies for your morning, comfortable temperatures in the 50s and 60s, a nice breeze coming from the east, albeit not as strong as what we had all week long. If you're headed to the beach, you picked a good day. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely beautiful out there. We're looking at mostly sunny skies. The high temperatures will be right around the low 80s. That east breeze, it won't be as strong as what it has been, but it'll still be noticeable and no shower chance at all.
Presented by Florida's Space Coast.
Thank you for joining us from across Spectrum Networks. I'm Curtis McLeod. The Artemis II crew safely back here on Earth while they adjust back to our gravity. Of course, we're going to get ready to share with you a press briefing from NASA. But first, I want to send things out right now to the Kennedy Space Center, where it all began just 10 days ago with our space experts. They are standing by here. And what a day, guys, it's been watching as the crew, Artemis II crew, makes their way back here to Earth. Wow, I'm telling you, watching them come out of the capsule there, oh, it'll be something I'll never forget.
Yeah, chills, no doubt about it. First off, welcome back, Reed. Welcome back, Christina. Welcome back, Victor. And welcome back, Jeremy. The 4-member crew now safely on Earth, being tended to doctors because, Zach, they're having to get used to gravity again after being in space for 10 days. So a successful splashdown happening earlier this evening. And everything went well. The entry into the Earth's atmosphere, the heat shield working just fine, protecting the spacecraft and the crew. And, of course, that successful splashdown off the coast of California.
Now, each of them going through an extensive medical evaluation. However, we did hear Commander Reed Wiseman multiple times upon splashdown saying, the crew is good. The crew is good. We're good. We're good. Take your time. We're good. It did take a little bit of time for them to extract them out. We fell behind schedule just a little bit. We heard Mission Control, or those around Mission Control, were just a little uneasy on why the timeline was taking so long. But to be honest with you, we heard from the director of the recovery team that when they opened up the hatch, they were all laughing and having a fun time, taking photos with their smartphones still in the capsule. So, again, this crew in good spirits, probably in good health as well, we can assume. Obviously getting their full checkup, and we're about to hear from NASA leadership about how today went, but visually everything we saw looked great. And even if that's not the case, the 4 astronauts are back on Earth, and you can't beat that.
No, you can't, and especially after a mission to the moon, that flyby, learning so much, gathering data, taking those incredible pictures, all that imagery that NASA scientists are going to be able to use to plan future landing missions on the moon, which is coming up in the very near future, and also traveling further than any crews ever traveled to space, and in all traveling 694,000 miles on this mission. Absolutely incredible. The spacecraft performed well. They had never flown humans in this spacecraft to space before, so this was something that they wanted to make sure everything worked out well, and it did so far. We'll hear in the coming days and weeks about how they are going through that, and how they're learning more and more and more about this, because this is the future for NASA, going and landing on the moon.
And the heat shield was honestly the biggest test of this mission, so it's kind of ironic that, 10 days ago, we were all here, the world, watching as they went into space, but the biggest test of this test flight mission was truly today. How does the Orion heat shield hold up? We remember back during Artemis I, its skip re-entry into Earth, which is basically when it comes through the Earth's atmosphere, skips back up, and then comes back down. It didn't work the way that NASA engineers thought. It actually degraded that ablated heat shield, and ultimately led to chunks of it falling out. Now, thankfully, the spacecraft made it back to Earth, but it just takes one of those cracks to cause a major concern. The problem with Artemis II was its heat shield was developed and mated to the Orion spacecraft before Artemis I took off. So a lot of people saying, well, why wouldn't you change it? Money, obviously, is a major factor. The development of the Artemis program is obviously a major factor. Do you just scrap the entire capsule and have to rebuild another one? That would cause time, delays. But that was the big test today. Engineers coming up with a different flight portfolio, coming in at over 450,000 feet above the Earth's atmosphere. The steeper angle of attack hitting up to 25,000 miles per hour. Didn't really do that skip trajectory that Artemis I did, which coincidentally was also something the Apollo program once thought to use. They never did with Apollo 18 because it never flew after Apollo 18. So, yeah, just an interesting day to see really the data that will come out of this heat shield. And a reminder, a brand new heat shield, a newer version, is set to fly on Artemis III.
The parachutes, all 11 of them working and performing flawlessly. The last 3 guiding them down to under 20 miles an hour upon splashdown. That is success as well. Also, the crew being extracted from the Orion capsule, hoisted up to helicopters, brought over to the recovery ship there off the coast of California. That operation went well. And one thing we did see, and you talked about the astronauts being in 0G for so many days, how they would handle coming back to gravity. Well, once they were on board the ship, they sat there for a while, but they were able to walk on their own power, which was impressive because they had some chairs there available for them. But that shows you the grittiness of this crew, the toughness of this crew. All smiles from everybody involved in this, especially at Mission Control, which is the brains of the operation. Yeah. So that certainly went well. And so here we are, just a short amount of time from these humans flying further than any humans have flown before. Where they are back home safely. We're going to go ahead and send it over to the NASA news conference, Artemis II coming back home.
And I believe that's just about to begin out there at the Johnson Space Center. We're going to hear from Sean Quinn, who's the manager of the Exploration Ground Systems Program, Howard Hugh, manager of the Orion program, Rick Henfling, who is the entry flight director. That's a big step today. Even more. Lori Glaze will be there as well. So we are just ready, just about ready to send it out to Houston for that presser and hear from NASA how today went. For that, we'll head out to Houston.
Astronauts are back on Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean at 7:07 p.m. Central Time this evening, after NASA's record-setting mission that took them around the moon and brought them home. Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications. Several leaders to talk about the successful mission. They are Amit Kshatriya, Associate Administrator, Dr. Lori Glaze, Head of the Artemis programs, Rick Henfling, Entry Flight Director, Howard Hugh, Orion Program Manager, and Sean Quinn, Exploration Ground Systems Program Manager. We'll hear briefly from them and then take questions from here in the room and on the phone. And with that, we'll start with Amit.
Good evening. Yesterday when we were in this room, we told you that the crew would put their lives behind our confidence, and they did. Yesterday in this room, we told you that today belongs to the engineers and technicians who touched this machine, and it does, and their work was good. Welders at Michoud shaped the heat shield and joined the rocket. Technicians at Kennedy packed parachutes, stacked the vehicle, stacked Orion, stacked SLS. Engineers in Bremen, Torino, and across the Alliance built the service module. Workers at Utah cast the boosters. Teams at Stennis fired the engines. Flight controllers in this building in Houston sat console for 10 days straight. It sat silent in the night for 6 minutes while plasma took the signal. Navy divers pulled the crew out of the Pacific in an incredible way. The vehicle spoke for all of them. And at 25,000 feet per second, it said the work was good. As we say in our business, physics votes last. The families of the crew said this week there had been happiness and joy, but also anxiety, wanting to get their loved ones home safely. I was with them tonight. 4 families sat through those 6 minutes, and their courage is the same as the crew that just came home. Yesterday, Flight Director Jeff Radigan said we had less than a degree of an angle to hit after 250,000 miles to the moon. And their team hit it. That is not luck. That is 1,000 people doing their jobs. You all heard the crew's words during the mission. They were incredibly inspirational. They carried the torch from Apollo through station and around the far side of the moon. Their words belong to them. We'll get to hear from them as soon as they're back here. But tonight belongs to the team that built the machine that they wrote. We talk a lot about what gets in our way. The impediment to action is where we find the way to get to action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This program faced every obstacle an institution could face. The team met each one with work, and tonight is the proof. But that work needs to continue. The path to the lunar surface is open, but the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. It always will be. 53 years ago, humanity left the moon. This time we return to stay. Let us finish what they started. Let us focus on what was left undone. Let us not go to plant flags and leave, but to stay. With firmness in our purpose, with gratitude for the hands who built the machines, and with love for the ones that we carry with us. Welcome home, integrity. I'll hand it over to Dr. Glaze.
Thank you so much, Amit. So y'all, we did it. We sent 4 amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time in more than 50 years. To the generation that now knows what we're capable of, welcome to our moonshot. I want to thank our entire team across this nation and around the world who gave every ounce of ingenuity and effort to make. I am so proud of each and every one of you, what you have achieved over the last 10 days. NASA has shown that ambitious goals are worth pursuing and can inspire the world. We are so thrilled to have Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back here on Earth and safely aboard the USS John P. Murtha. Our team is fired up, and this mission, as we've been talking about, is just the beginning. To all of our new followers out there, please stay tuned. This is the first mission our first mission to the moon of many more to come. And we can't wait. Our teams are so ready to get to work on the next missions and explore the lunar surface and bring the world along with us. I'll pass it over to Rick.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you all for your continued interest in this mission. What a truly spectacular day it was for NASA and all of our international partners. This crew has said time and again that they were going for all of humanity, and today we fulfilled that objective by completing their journey and returning them safely to Earth. I've got a few stats for those who are interested, courtesy of the Flight Dynamics Officer in Mission Control. Integrity and her crew, 4 astronauts, flew 700,237 miles. We reached a peak velocity of 24,664 miles per hour. We hit our flight path angle target within 0.4%. We flew an entry range of 1,957 miles, and we landed within less than a mile of our target. What a tremendous day. Over to Howard.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you to the flight control team. What an outstanding job. Wow, what a fantastic day. I mean, we've dreamed as a team of reaching this day, and appreciate Amit's comments. I mean, so many people have worked very hard, tirelessly to get this day. I think this mission has been historic and has demonstrated new capabilities for Orion spacecraft, has taken our crew farther than any crews that have ever gone to the moon and back safely. 252,756 miles. And that is a fantastic feat. We got a lot more to do. And I'm so happy that we get to have this moment, but we're going to have a lot of these moments coming up. And I want to thank the entire Orion team. They have worked tirelessly. They've dedicated many hours. They've committed to excellence and innovated and attacked challenges that we've come up with for both our NASA team, our industry partners, and our European team as well. We did it together. We brought the crew home safely. They did deserve a round of applause. It was a terrific day for them as well. And I want to thank the crew. They have been a fantastic inspiration to our teams as well. You've heard their messages. We are so happy they're back on the ground. We can't wait to see them as well. And finally, you know, we've learned a lot from this mission. Number one was bringing the crews home safely, but it's also a test flight. And like Amit said, we have work ahead of us to be done. We're going to learn from this mission. We're going to look at the data, and we're going to move forward. This is the start of a new era of human space exploration. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Howard. What an incredible end to an incredible mission. I got to tell you, I think I'm trying to pick out the best thing that happened today, and I'll just say that we were sitting in the back room getting ready for this press conference, and Howard gets a call from Reed Weissman, the commander of Integrity, and it was so great to hear his voice and tell us that all the crew is okay, and we can say that we did our mission. We accomplished what we set out to do. I'm very proud of the efforts of the Exploration Ground Systems team that supported both the launch and recovery operations alongside our Navy partners. All the hard work and dedication over the last couple years paid off today, and the team did a great job. Our recovery teams are currently in the process of bringing Orion back on the well deck of the ship, and hopefully within about 4 or 5 hours it'll be hard down in the back end of the USS Mertha. It's good to be NASA. It's good to be an American today. Thank you.
All right, it's time now for questions. We'll start here in the room and take several from the phone. For those on the phone, you can press *1 to get into the question queue, and please limit to one question if you can. We'll start here with Joey.
Thanks so much. Joey Rillett with Reuters, and congrats on a really nice mission. Curious to hear more about how the astronauts are doing, where are they going to sleep tonight, and then also, when do you guys expect to announce the crew for Artemis II? Thanks.
So the answer to your second question, Joey, is soon. I will not put units on that. on that value, but soon. Rick, you want to talk about the crew, what they're doing?
Yeah, we saw the crew a number of times after they got out of the spacecraft. We saw them on the front porch. Everybody was happy and healthy. I saw Victor as he was sitting on the edge of the helicopter on the flight deck of the ship, and he was smiling and in good spirits. And everything we've been hearing from the surgeons is the flight crew is happy and healthy and ready to come home to Houston.
Hi, Lauren Gresh with Bloomberg. Congratulations again. You know, obviously it's been such a great mission to watch from start to finish, but I guess I'm wondering if you had to categorize, you know, this was a test flight. What would you say is the issue that you feel maybe the most grateful arose during this mission so that you could apply that lesson learned to the next?
Maybe you.
Like me,
Howard, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, I think you know, we're taking a lot of lessons learned. Certainly, learning about how the crew operates a spaceship has been a really great learning experience, and flying and ability for them to test drive for our spacecraft has been good. I think, as we mentioned previously, our pressure control assembly, where we discovered a leakage through the system. I think we learned a lot about that. That is a new finding. Certainly, we're going to go investigate that. We're going to look at that and move forward to make sure that we make some changes if necessary, but we'll get all the data and we'll go forward from there.
Marcia.
Associated Press, Marcia Dunn. The administrator described the crew as great communicators, almost poets. How is, you know, this is going to be a tough act to follow for the upcoming crews soon to be picked. Talk about this crew in particular and what they brought to this that went beyond the scientific and the research and the engineering, please.
I'll just say that this particular crew, you know, they've gotten to know each other so well. So each of them individually are just absolutely amazing individuals. But they, as a group, you could watch them, and what they brought as you watch them in Orion over the last 10 days, operating just seamlessly between the four of them, just the teamwork, the camaraderie, just, I think they really brought an amazing sense of what we're trying to achieve with this mission. It's the mission for all humanity, a mission for all, and they really did represent that and tried to communicate that. I do know that our entire astronaut corps is spectacular, and so I have no doubt that the next teams will also rise to that level.
Jackie.
Hi all, Jackie Waddle, CNN. Congratulations. Question for Rick. I'm really anxious to hear what that blackout during reentry was like for you. And also just wanted to ask, you know, that splashdown target being less than a mile off is incredible. Can you walk us through if anything, you know, was outside of ordinary? I know we heard on comms there were some sensor issues just before entry interface. Just curious to hear more about that. Thanks.
Sure. So, you know, blackout, there's really no beating around the bush with that. You know, it's a difficult time because the flight control team wants to see data. We want to look at the data. We want to be able to provide input to the flight crew on how to fly their spaceship. And when we don't have data, we're trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. But we knew when blackout was going to start. It started when we expected. We knew when it was going to end. It ended when we expected. And so that gave us the trust that the spaceship was flying itself correctly. As far as some of the cautions and things that came up on the way down, the prop cautions, they were, we think that, again, that was learning of the spacecraft. Some of the limits are set a little bit tighter than we probably should have had them set, and we dispositioned those and moved on. As far as the comms post-landing, we don't quite know what was going on there, but we worked around it. We had comms with the recovery team, and we safely handed over the mission authority at the right time.
Okay, Josh.
Hi, Josh Denner, space.com. Really excited to hear that the crew is doing well. I'm interested, you know, we saw Victor sitting on the edge of that helicopter once they landed on the ship, and it was great to see them all, you know, walk across the deck. They were set to do an emergency egress test with a ladder, a backpack, you know. I'm wondering if they've performed that yet, how soon they will be performing it, and if they have, how it went.
I'm not familiar with an emergency egress test post-landing. Given that this was a test mission, the #1 goal was to get the flight crew out of the spaceship as fast as we could, and we weren't looking at any post-landing objectives.
Yeah, we did do, I think, back when we were back on the launch pad, we did, during the CDDT, we did an emergency egress, but
yeah,
that's the only one I'm aware of that's that test. Yeah, but we'll check on it for you.
Eric.
Eric Berger, Ars Technica. Congratulations on making what I know is really hard look easy. It was a beautiful mission. Amit, you said the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. Can you talk about, as sort of NASA rises to these far greater challenges in Artemis III, Artemis IV, and building the moon base, how important it is for you and the agency to be flying humans in deep space again and sort of to be at an operational cadence? This has to be pretty uplifting to the workforce to put the 50 years of not being back to the moon behind us.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, flight cadence and iteration is the key to reliability and safety. You know, we were waiting to fly this mission for several years. A lot of that was because of you know, the issues we saw during Artemis I and making sure we did that the right way, and we tried to make sure the machine was perfect before we flew it. But the real way to do that is to keep iterating, to keep flying, keep learning, keep getting data in the flight environment. So that piece of how we've changed the architecture and demanding that higher cadence is going to be, I would say, mandatory for us to be successful. We need that muscle memory to exist. We need the data to keep coming in, and we need to be able to quickly iterate and change the machine as we learn from it. Everything we learned from Artemis II, we're going to get right after, but I would say it's essential.
Okay, Irene.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week and Space Technology for Amit. What do you think will be your biggest challenge to ensure that this mantle and responsibility of inheriting what Apollo did does not end like Apollo?
I think we've talked about this a little bit before. You know, what the architects of Apollo, Gilruth, von Braun, Siemens, Mueller, what they really wanted to do when they were given the challenge of expanding the range of action to the moon was to learn to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first. I talked a little bit about this with Rob earlier. I think, you know, and of course, because of the nature of the environment they were in, you know, they were in a race. They achieved their objectives. They're geopolitical as well as technological. But once it was done, it was done. And I think the foundation they wanted to build on is what we went to afterwards. So we wanted to, you know, investigate reusability with shuttle. We did that. We wanted to learn to live in space for a long time with station. We've got to that point now, 25 years of occupation. And now it's interesting. I think where we are with the program is kind of where they wanted us to be before they decided to go do that, to actually enable a sustainable presence, to learn how to live and work there for a long time. So, you know, it's a weird irony of history that, you know, it took that long for us to do that, but we weren't sitting idle while that happened. We developed the capability to have an enduring presence, you know, in space, and now we're going to take advantage of that now that we've reached back to the moon.
Okay, we'll take one more in the room from Ken Chang, and then we'll go take several from the phone.
Hi, Ken Chang from New York Times. I guess for Rick and everybody else, can you talk about what the last 13 minutes were like? There had to have been some anxiety, and what was the moment where you could finally relax, and when did you start celebrating in Mission Control?
Well, certainly there's anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety bringing this spacecraft home, you probably didn't have a pulse. You know, I have a lot of trust in my team. We've got all flight controllers in the room on entry day went through a rigorous training process, and they are the system experts on their respective part of the spacecraft. And so while there's anxiety, there's a lot of confidence because the team is there to do a job, and we've trained well, and we executed well. We all breathed a sigh of relief once the side hatch opened up. That's when we brought the team in. We said a few words to the flight controllers, and then we turned around to the families and waved to the families and gave them a thumbs up. And we all watched as a flight control team as each of the 4 astronauts got out of the spaceship and were hoisted up onto the helicopters. It was a great day.
Okay, we'll take several questions from the phone now. The first one is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hey,
Hey, good evening. Question for Lori or Howard. I know it's very, very early here, but any initial thinking about the heat shield performance relative to Artemis I? And could you walk through how the heat shield will be assessed in the coming weeks and months? Thanks so much.
So I'll just start, and then I'll hand it over to Howard. How's that? Initially, we gathered a lot of data already. Certainly, you saw there were aircraft that were positioned in order to do some imagery and collect data. So we've got some of those data that can be analyzed in the coming days and weeks. We also had divers below the surface that took imaging of the heat shield before it was brought onto the Mertha, so that we could understand exactly what state it's in after it landed. And so I think we've already begun the data gathering piece of it. I'm sure there will be more assessments once we get on the ship. And then Howard, why don't you talk kind of what the next steps are?
Yeah, we already have two of our heat shield experts on board the ship, and so when we get the crew module into the well deck, and we'll do some inspections right off the bat. Like Lori said, we've got underwater divers that are taking pictures, and then after that, once we've inspected that on the ship, we'll transfer back to Kennedy Space Center. We'll have opportunity to look in detail and do scans of the heat shield, and we have a lot of good data from that. We also captured a lot of great imagery. Obviously, we haven't had time to digest all that data, but we will in the next several days, and make sure we understand if there's anything that happened that was anomalous. But we're very excited. The team is very excited to get that data from both the imagery and seeing it live in person.
Next up is Jackie Mogensen with Scientific American.
Hi, thanks for this. I wanted to follow up on one of the earlier questions about the astronauts. I was curious if it might be possible to tell us a little bit more, if we know, about what the astronauts will be doing in their first days back on Earth, what their first meal might be, or activities with their families. Thanks so much.
Well, the top priority is going to be to get them promptly back to their families here in Houston. As far as the specifics, I'm sure each of the crew members has something special planned with their families, and that'll be the priority, is for them to take some time and spend with their loved ones.
Yeah, I'm not sure we answered it, but we do anticipate them arriving back here in Houston 12 to 24 hours after splashdown, so that would be between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening tomorrow.
Next on the phone is Jeff Faust with Space News.
Good evening. I wonder if you can talk through what the processing of the Orion spacecraft is going to be now that it's back. What point do you sort of extract all of the lessons learned from the mission and start applying them to Artemis III in order to have that mission ready to go launch in about a year's time? Thanks.
Yeah, we will have what we call a quick initial 30-day report that we will put together. Every team will be doing their due diligence and analyzing all the data we have. The crew module will get transported back to Kennedy Space Center. Sean's team, Exploration Ground Systems, is going to decontaminate the vehicle in terms of the propulsion system has hydrazine, and so we'll be working through that. In the meantime, we'll be pulling hardware off the boat in parallel with other activities, and when we get back to Kennedy Space Center, we've got about 286 components we're going to reuse in future missions already, and then we're going to look at other components and determine if we can reuse those as well. A lot of work, not only on the hardware flow, but also all the analysis of the data that we're going to need going forward to learn from this mission and carry forward for Artemis III and beyond.
Okay, we'll take one more from the phone and then come back here into the room. The next question is from Richard Trudeau with Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, thanks again for taking the time. This is another question for Howard. For Artemis III, is the docking system that you have to do with Blue Origin and/or SpaceX, is that at what point would that system be sort of in place on the new capsule? And I guess for Amit, how are your two contractors progressing toward having something that's going to actually go up there on your timeline? Thanks.
Okay, I'll start with our docking system. Our docking system is ready to go. It's already been qualified. We've already got the flight unit at Kennedy Space Center. Later this summer, we'll integrate it on top of the crew module. And we've done a lot of testing already, so the final part is actually the mechanical mating of the docking hatch and the docking mechanism itself. And so we have a standard way of doing dockings in space that we expect Blue Origin and SpaceX to work with us on and accomplish that mission.
Yeah, and as far as the other part, I think, we're in a massive test campaign. We've got a huge test coming up of the Blue Origin Mark I lander, which will be the kind of smaller version of the lander they want to use to attempt the landing missions. There's going to be a test flight of that this year. We also have the test of the Block 3 Starship and Super Heavy, which is coming up hopefully in a few weeks here. So, every day in this program, we're going to be testing big machines, and we're just going to keep getting side by side with them to help them make progress.
Okay, Jackie, and then we'll come back to the other side of the room.
Thank you, Jackie Goddard for the Times of London. My question is for Howard. As a little boy, you were inspired by Star Wars. I wondered if today is better for you than Star Wars, and for future space travelers looking back at today, what should they see as being the significance? Thank you.
Wow, you might be watching my old interviews or something, but I would say 1,000, I don't know what the number is, thousands of times better. I would say that I shared a moment with my father. He took me to see Star Wars. He's not alive today. I wish he was, because that little kid who saw and was inspired by the stars, and now we're able to send our crew out to the stars, the farthest any humans have been. I mean, I can't even express just how I feel and the goosebumps I have. And I would say that for all the kids out there, I mean, just pursue the dreams. I can't say any better than the crews. I tell my kids also, pursue what you're passionate about. And my passion is a space program. My passion is NASA. And I was able to accomplish that today, and hopefully many more days going forward. But you have opportunity to do what you are passionate about. And hopefully those kids who are in love with human spaceflight, in love with going to the stars, will be inspired by us, especially by our crews. And come join NASA. Come work for us. We got a lot of missions ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Ariel Multzatsos from Televisa Univision. The only mission until today that for which the communications blackout lasted 6 minutes was Apollo 13, if I am not mistaken. Today's lasted 6 minutes, around 6 minutes. Does that say anything about the design of the ship, or what is the reason behind that? And also, very quickly, can we see a Hispanic in one of the next missions of Artemis? Thank you very much.
As far as the duration of the blackout, a lot of that, that's just dictated by the physics of the approach trajectory. The Orion spacecraft, when you get enveloped by, plasma that's thousands of degrees, the radio frequency of the antennas just can't shoot through that. On the space shuttle, we were lucky. We had the tail, and we had an antenna up on the tail, and it took us a while to figure that out, that was a way to keep calm. For Orion, it was 6 minutes, but it was predicted, and it played out exactly as we predicted, so that just gave us confidence that it was flying the way it was supposed to.
Will.
Hi, thank you. Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now, and congratulations again tonight. A question for Rick. The whole flight operations team has been exceedingly busy throughout the course of this mission, in preparation for this mission. I imagine there will be a little bit of breathing room now that the crew is back safely on Earth, but when do you kind of get the band back together to start prepping for Artemis II, and will it be the same complement of flight directors that we saw for Artemis II? Thank you.
Well, you're right that the next mission is right around the corner, and we'll take the lessons learned from Artemis II. We learned a bunch on how to fly people in space, both from a vehicle operations, but also from how to run a control room with a deep space mission. And when the time is right, we'll get back into flight-specific training. And we've got a core group of about 30 flight directors, and they're all extremely capable. And I think anybody who's assigned to that next mission is going to be as successful as the three of us, myself, Judd, and Jeff.
Yes, we'll take you.
Tom Clark with Sky News. Congratulations on a very successful mission. Amit, you spoke yesterday of there only being irrational fears. I wonder if you succumbed to any, and if so, what they were. But more after such a successful test flight, how much of a boost is this to NASA's confidence in its wider mission to stay on the moon?
For the campaign, this is a huge step, for us to build confidence, not just in our understanding of how this machine performs, but just that this organization can rise to the standard of qualifying a vehicle like this for crewed flight. I think that's huge. It took a lot of discipline and a lot of changes between Artemis I and now to get there, and the team really rose to the equation. These folks here, they did a tremendous job of instilling the amount of discipline and rigor and belief in the qualification standards to make sure this is going to work. And so to me, that was almost the biggest objective of this mission, was to prove to ourselves that we could move to crewed flight, but maintain the same level of risk knowledge and understanding, but also really focus on what that looks like. To your point, it is when you fly the crew, when you fly any crew, you can be paralyzed. You can almost be paralyzed by risk, because you become so close to them. You understand what's at stake. When you're with the families, you understand what's at stake. But the crew knows this, and we have to do it too. But organizationally, understand that what we do is we take calculated risks, and that it's going to take risks to explore. But you have to make sure you find the right line between being paralyzed by it and being able to manage it and bound it the right way.
Okay, Andrea. And then after that, we'll come to Michael, and then take Cyril on the phone.
Andrea Leinfelder of the Houston Chronicle. This question's for Rick. I enjoyed seeing the flight controllers storm into White Flight Control Room, and I was just wondering, were those the controllers from the back room? Were there people who were off duty who just couldn't be away? And why was it important to open the room to them and to let more of the Houston workforce celebrate that moment? Thanks.
That was anybody. I made a call out to anybody who had worked the mission, no matter what shift or what room you were sitting in, to come into the room and just soak in the moment with the rest of the operations team. They all deserved it. They worked tremendously hard, both pre-flight and during the mission, and it was a time for us to celebrate together before celebrating outside of that room.
Okay, Michael.
Hi, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. Congratulations again. My question is also for Rick. I think that we've asked the crew several times if they've felt the weight of this moment, and I'm curious if you felt, or if your other flight directors felt the weight of this, that as you were going through this, you're like, this is what Gene Kranz felt, this is what Chris Kraft felt. Did you ever feel that moment?
There were a couple of times where you have a lull in the shift, and you can kind of sit back in your seat and just look out the window. I do that at ISS a lot when I work down the hall working in Ficker 1. You just enjoy the view. As I worked early in the mission on the planning shift, the moon was getting bigger and bigger, and it was fun to just sit and watch the moon get bigger. And then as we worked on the entry -1 day shift yesterday, and then on the entry shift, it was fun to watch the Earth get bigger. And it was fascinating to watch orbital mechanics take over. And in the last day when I took the console, I think we were earlier this morning, I think we were over 50,000 miles away from Earth, and we made up that last 50,000 miles in the last 8 hours. And it's a fun job to do.
All right, we'll take several questions from the phone. We have Anthony Leone with Spectrum News.
Hello, it's Anthony Leone with Spectrum News. Thank you so much for taking our questions. This is certainly a historic moment. NASA has kicked off the return of humans visiting the moon. How does it feel to write this new chapter in our history book?
I have to tell you, my background is in planetary science, and I was an active planetary scientist for a couple of decades, and I had this incredible honor to come over and work with the human spaceflight side of NASA and the team that have put this together. But as someone who has been interested in what we can do in exploring the moon and going beyond low Earth orbit, I think the weight of this mission and just how incredibly impactful it is that we have actually achieved this. You know, during our lifetimes here, we have done this, right? You know, when I was, Apollo was when I was a child, and to be here now and say, we actually did this, we've gone back and we're going to go build a moon base. We are going to have an enduring presence on the moon. Just incredibly powerful.
The next question is from Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to everyone. Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial. You know, NASA showed one more time that space is a unifying force around the world with a crew that connected so well with people that doesn't matter which country. How important was, for anyone in the panel, how important was this mission for the agency and for the future of the Artemis program?
It's the most important human spaceflight mission I think we've done in many decades in terms of what it meant historically, but also what it means for the future of the agency. We talked before about, for many folks, this is the end of a long journey working on these machines, and for a lot of our workforce, it's just the beginning. But it is definitely an inflection point for all of us. So it's hard to understate, you know, just how incredibly valuable it is to the entire team.
Let's go here to Zach.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Zachary Albert with the Launchpad from Canada. Ahmed, if you could send a message to NASA in 50 years. We've taken a lot looking back at the last 50. What would you say to the administration and the NASA then when hopefully we've become a multiplanetary species? And for each of you, is there a word or a quick phrase on how you hope the history books classify this mission that started us going back?
You know, it's a couple of weeks ago, I was with the administrator. We were doing a different event, and we were talking about how we were really going to make choices and you know, and change our focus towards the moon, towards building a moon base, towards doing incredible things again. And right before he and I walked up on stage, he turned to me and he said, you know, at some point, people are going to look back at what we were doing, and we're going to be like those guys that were hogging out logs to cross lakes just to see if we could do it. And then, you know, in the future, people are going to look back at us and go, wasn't that quaint, and isn't that interesting how they did that? But I mean, that's kind of where I think this is going to land in the grand scheme of things. You know, we of course, Apollo achieved amazing things. We've done amazing things since then, but this, I think, is going to be an important step, and hopefully history is kind to us as a result.
Okay, Stephen, did you have one? TJ?
TJ Mosquero with the Epoch Times. Thank you all so much, and congratulations again. My question is about the two backups. You know, they trained for this mission themselves all the way. I'm not trying to ask if they're going to be on, trying to get you to tell me if they are Artemis III or not, but can you tell me a little bit more about their fate? Because during Apollo, it seemed that the backup crew of one mission was slated to be the prime crew of a later mission.
So both Jenny and Andre were part of this crew in every way. They trained with them. They were in the White Room when they were closing it out. They were with them. The families were together. Jenny was with us in the viewing room today. So they're part of this crew, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Allison McGraw from Mysterious Meteorites. Given the crew's successful demonstration of the 4K video stream with the laser comms, will there be another test of this? And what does this mean for TRL readiness level for, say, a planetary spacecraft mission? Thank you.
You got it.
I think we've had an incredible demonstration of the optical communications and the 4K video streaming that was just fantastic. I think we've really shown that this is an amazing capability that we'd certainly like to implement in the future. So we'll have to see how that works and see how we can make that happen.
Just to point out, though, we have actually closed an optical link from much further away.
Yes, we have, from Mars.
Vehicle, so,
yep.
So we're working on that.
Mars distance. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll come around here. Just need to wait for the mic to make its way over.
Hi, thank you again for doing this, and again, congrats on just such an amazing mission. Beverly Casillas for Space Scout here. And I just had a quick question. We've seen some really incredible imagery throughout the course of this mission. It's been great, to get that downlinked quickly with the laser comms. And I'm curious how much of that imagery that was taken during the mission on board has been downlinked, and how much of that still remains on the spacecraft to be recovered later. Thank you.
I don't happen to know the official stats, but we can certainly follow up with you at a later date.
I do know that Reed had made the comment that even though they sent back quite a bit, that the stuff they have with them is pretty amazing. So once we get it off the physical media on the vehicle, hopefully we'll be able to get it to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll get all those SD cards, we'll get them all downloaded, and of course, all of the imaging that was required on Monday, that was the science imaging, all of that will be made available through the planetary data system, and archived.
Okay, we'll take a few more from the phone. Next is Alejandro Turnbull with Space Scout.
Hi, congratulations everyone on a fantastic mission. Question for Rick. As the spacecraft was descending under parachute, we saw on the infrared camera some plumes emanating from the vehicle that looked like either venting or thruster firing. Just wondering if you could speak a little to what the spacecraft was doing then, what exactly caused those plumes. Thank you.
Yeah, not knowing the video that you're referring to, I would imagine that's probably the spacecraft reorienting itself. When we're on our main parachutes, we do a reorientation to ensure that the most robust structural portion of the spacecraft contacts the water first. And so I suspect the plumes you were seeing were the crew module reaction control system thrusters firing.
The next question is from David Denault with About Space Today News.
First, I'd like to say just not congratulations, but I think this is just one of the most spectacular missions NASA has ever accomplished. And a lot of people have compared this to Apollo 8. And I can tell you there is no comparison to what has been done with the Orion spacecraft and the technology from our European Space Agency partners. I was there from the beginning of Apollo 8. I'm probably the oldest broadcast journalist today. But my question to each of you, what was your wow moment?
Let's start with Mr. Quinn. You're kind of lonely over there.
I didn't hear the question. Yep.
Just pick an awesome thing.
An awesome
moment. Well, being a guy from the Kennedy Space Center, the launch was a pretty special day. To see all those umbilicals clear the vehicle and the vehicle clear the tower, and have that rocket rise off the pad was absolutely amazing.
Go next.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right. I know Victor always says touchdown, getting onto the water. For me, the greatest moment was the parachutes, the main chutes deploying. I think seeing that, I was chanting "Go, go, go" by myself. Somebody shot a video of that. I think I was going crazy, but I just kept saying that as the drogues came out, but when the mains came out and they started slowly inflating, I mean, that was just a tremendous moment. Like I said, objective number one is get the crew home. And I know there's all kinds of things that can happen after that, but having those mains and getting the vehicle to 16 miles per hour from 24,600 miles per hour is pretty amazing. And getting those chutes down was a great moment.
I'm going to vote for the naming of the two craters as my top moment.
I know it's all still fresh, so for me, I'm probably going to say two things. When the crew, when Reed reported back, 4 crew green after splashdown, that's what we hope for, right? So that was pretty awesome. And then when they started, we saw Christina come out of the capsule. Then I was like, okay, we're here.
Okay, we'll take, sorry, I'm at.
No, it's okay. Mine's easy. It'll be tomorrow when I see my friends again.
All right, one more from the phone and then back into the room. So the phone question will come from Russell Pounds from Pacific Rim Media.
Hi, this is Russell calling from Alaska today. Congratulations to all. And I'll tell you, there were tears of joy in the room here where we were watching. My question is about logistics. I'm thinking about all of the moving parts it takes to bring food, power, telecom, and so forth on a complicated mission. What were some of the logistics lessons learned that might be useful to organizations back here on Earth?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think a good start. I mean, it's incredibly challenging to get to plan for a mission like this. Even though Orion's a pretty big spacecraft, making sure we have everything we need. And we think we count through contingencies. We lose systems sometimes. We worry about that. We want to make sure we have everything ready to go. I will tell you though that just having thought about this for a while, the logistics of flying a 10-day mission. Even this far away pales in comparison to the logistics of keeping crew on space station constantly going. So I would say that a lot of our logistics learnings have been derived from that. That's not just consumables and water and gas, et cetera, but it's also thinking about the reliability of the systems and when they're going to fail. It's hard to predict sometimes, how to do that, sparing the machine and making sure we have everything pre-positioned in the event that we have failures. That comes from a lot of learning, both pre-flight and in-flight. And so, but in-space logistics is going to be a huge challenge for us going forward as we really contemplate a moon base, but hopefully we'll be able to feed forward, lessons from obviously this mission, but I think from Space Station Together as we build that moon base.
Okay, we'll take a few more here in the room. We'll go in the middle there.
Hi, Jishnu Nair, Houston Business Journal, echoing congratulations on a great mission. While we were following along, we had a lot of voices from the space industry, especially here in Houston, kind of chime in and express their support and as well. And I know that a lot of those companies are working on specific NASA proposals or submissions. But in general, how would you say you'd like to see the industry kind of respond to the kind of achievement that NASA has done here and hopes to continue with Artemis?
I'll take the first stab on that one. How I'd like to see industry respond is to take this as not just the inspiration, but the challenge. You've heard that we really want to speed up our cadence and be able to return our crew back to space within a year and to the surface of the moon in 2 years. In fact, hopefully land on the moon twice in 2028. In order to do that, we're not going to be able to do that alone. We need all of industry to work and come along with us, and they need to accept that challenge and come with us and really start the production lines that are going to be required in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, let's hear in the white hat.
Hi, JJ Love with Tech Talk Media. I just have some words of recognition for you all and the entire Artemis team. What you have done this week is remind the people of Earth that wonder is worth chasing, that curiosity is not a luxury, it is the most human thing we have. You didn't just test a spacecraft, you tested mankind's potential and carried all of us with you in the process. Every kid who looked up at the moon this week did it differently because of you. People who needed something to believe in found it in that splashdown tonight. So thank you, not just for the data, and not just for the mission, but for proving that the pursuit of what's possible is still alive and well. We are so grateful.
Thank you for that.
Very well said. Thank you for that. I would tell you that, for everybody listening, this is the taxpayers' program. The people paid for this. The people invested in this. They invested in all of the things that we do, and so we're grateful for the support.
Okay, we'll take a couple more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap. We have one here, and then further back.
Hello, congrats. Emily Martin from CID's Best Friends. Reed Wiseman addressed a shout out to the ESM right after it separated from Orion, saying that it powered their journey on the moon with perfection. I was wondering what comments you might have on the performances of the ESM and on the future of that collaboration with Europe.
Yeah, I would say that the European Service Module in general performed as expected. I know we learned a little bit about the pressurization system, and we'll work on that. But overall, really great part of our spacecraft. Really appreciate our European partnership. We do have continued partnership with them for Artemis III, 4. We're building ESM 5 as well, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
All right, we'll take one final question.
Hi there, Chelsea Torres with Fox. Again, congratulations on a historic mission. Again, test flight, and one thing that we are as humans are explorers. And so I'm curious if you're able to kind of talk about this. During the lunar flyby, we saw the excitement not just from the crew, but also from everyone in mission control. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you, whether it was the Terminator, the certain pictures and data, anything at all that you can speak to that maybe you didn't know before about the lunar surface, our planet, space itself, that you'd like to speak about? Thank you.
I'm just going to call out the one thing that I thought was truly unique about this mission. I mean, certainly there's a ton of new things that we've done with having our crew observe far side of the moon and being able to observe these features after their incredible training. But I'll tell you, the one thing that really stands out to me is being able to watch our crew observe an eclipse. By having the moon passing between their spacecraft and the sun. That was a totally unique experience and something that I was so proud that we could all participate and travel along with them and experience that moment.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much to our participants today and to all of you for following along. You can find the latest information about our missions on nasa.gov, and hopefully soon information about the expected arrival time of the crew back in Houston tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, there you go. NASA officials, Artemis II, doing a news conference, wrapping up an exciting mission. Lori Glaze right there at the end saying that we all went along with them. We did. We went on this journey with Reed, with Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. The crew, just an incredible trip to go around the moon. Successful. Actually, Zach, we got some new numbers out of this.
Yeah, we did.
So they actually went further than we originally thought. They went over 700,000 miles. They had a top speed of nearly 25,000 miles an hour. And this is what I know you like talking about the most. The re-entry angle was within 0.4% of the target. 0.4.
Insane.
Low number, 0.4. And also, speaking of targets, the landing location within a mile out in the vast Pacific Ocean.
And they started it at 450,000 feet. 450,000 feet away, feet up, and then thousands of miles away from the actual spot, and landed within a mile. You also mentioned info coming out. Amit saying near the end of that presser, this is the people's space program.
Right.
It is the taxpayers that pay for this, and they're very excited to get back to that. One other interesting fact I heard Howard Hughes say, the manager of the Orion program, is that over 250 parts on Artemis II are going to be taken off of the Orion capsule and installed in future missions. So we know reusability about this is not the level of SpaceX with their reusable, capsules and rockets, but there is something, and it shows NASA's willingness to try and work towards that reusability.
Yep, and they talked about the heat shield success and everything. So, again, a successful mission, an exciting mission, more of these missions to come, and we're excited about it to bring it to you, Curtis.
Absolutely, guys. What an exciting day. What an exciting experience. What a way to cap off a historic mission. It's been a monumental trip around the moon, and we're so happy to have shared that with you here, of course, on Spectrum News. And I'm telling you, really being in the moment when that capsule splashed down, talk about something to see, hear, and witness together as this happened. And a lot more to go, as Artemis has a long way to go with more explorations to come in the future. Now, you can get the latest, of course, on the Spectrum News app. Just all you got to do, click on Destination Space. Right now, we'll return you to your local news coverage.
Destination Space, presented by Florida's Space Coast.